from the dark. Behind the frame, I make it shine. Behind the frame, I turn your noise to gold. Behind the frame, that's where I stay. But let me be seen when they need my name. If you need a builder, I am already here. Hands on the details, steady and clear. I can be quiet, I can be loud. Just for a moment, I'll stand in the crowd. Behind the frame, I make you shine. Behind the frame, I turn your noise to gold. Behind the frame, that's where I stay. But let me be seen when they need my name. Behind the frame, I make it shine. Behind the frame, I turn your noise to gold. Let me be seen when they need my name. You say you wanna make a change, but you keep doing the same
Welcome into all the weirdos because I'm a weirdo. So if you're here, you're a weirdo too. Oh boy, do I have a show for you. We're going to have some fun. But first, some housekeeping. Chat check. Nate says he's here for the most part for the next 8 hours. Sir, I don't know if I'm going to go until 5 o'clock in the morning, but if I do, glad you're going to be here for it. But probably not. Anyways, but you know, sometimes I do tend to do that. Oh, well, tell your niece I said hello and thank you. But she looks like me. I won't be mean. She must be pretty. Okay, that's me being as humble as I can. Oh, she likes my name. She likes my name. Thank you. Tell her I said thank you very much. All right. So Lawrence, again, welcome in. Thank you, sir, for coming and visiting us. Jared says that he's for the timeouts. He means the lulls. The lulls, people, not the timeouts, the lulls. You know, we don't do beat. Our moderators don't have hammers over here. Or do they? Anyways. Let's see what else we got here. Crucible Crusader says he hit like, but he chose no in the poll. And the poll is currently, did you smack my thumb and ring my bell? There's 2 answers. Yes, I'm a simp. No, you're a feminist. Choose wisely, men. I'm a feminist. All right. Covert, apparently. I don't know. It's whatever. They say what they say. Let's see who else is in here. Oh, I don't know. Anybody else saying hi? Crucible Crusader has a sword, not a hammer, he says. Awesome. Awesome. All right. Okay. So the name of the stream is Are You Freaking Kidding Me? No, I don't have my tiara yet. I'm really sorry. I'm also grifting for that purple gown, you guys. Look at this. I mean, look at this. Look at this. Hold on, let me find it, and then you can look at it. Look at this. Could you imagine? I show up to stream. Now my dress will not be that low cut because, well, now a little bit higher than that. A little higher than that. But could you imagine me showing up to stream one day and I actually look like this? Come on. Grifty links are in the chat. Yeah. Anyways. So also, on a serious note, some actual housekeeping. So if you've never been here before and this is your first time here on that side of your screen, there's a GoFundMe QR code, and this channel is the core of that GoFundMe fundraiser, and that GoFundMe fundraiser is for your host. And if you would like to know more about why it is for your host, you go ahead and just click on that QR code. It's not going to ask you for any money when you click on that QR code. It's actually going to pull up the story, and it's going to give you a little bit of information about me. You can also find a little bit more information on my type of epilepsy, mine specifically, and I have a video called what did I say? Shaking it up with a conversation on epilepsy, or a discussion on epilepsy. So you can find that video as well on my channel if you've never been here before, or if you've been here before but you don't know why I have the QR code. So there you go. All right. So are you freaking kidding me? Let's get to it. So I pulled up 4 weird and kind of funny news stories to share with you guys because are you freaking kidding me? These are crimes. The first 4 are crimes. The 5th one is a news story out of Mexico. So I have 4 United States crimes that are kind of weird, or the circumstances are weird. And then we have 1 weird just thing in Mexico. I don't think it was a crime, but let's go ahead and start. So I gotta drag this away. Excuse me. Okay. So we are going to start with, hold on, I gotta find my StreamYard again. There you guys are. Okay. Hey! Listen, as far as some people are concerned, y'all are simps. So just fucking get over it. And I'm a feminist. So I'm a feminist. All my male subscribers are simps. Female subscribers, I think you're just feminists. So yeah, that's what we're just gonna go with it. Well, yeah, just look at it. Anyways, you guys are getting, yes, it is a pretty dress. Now I'm getting all distracted. Grilled cheese hiccups. Oh, that's something anybody that hasn't been here should learn. I really like grilled cheese a lot. I like grilled cheese, and I like chicken tenders, and I like honey mustard. And I only eat French fries so I don't look fully autistic while I'm drinking honey mustard out of the bottle. So vintage with the fucking ultimate grift. Support DSD with some grift money. Otherwise, she said I have to start an OF to help her out, do the right thing, and don't let that happen. Please. Don't let that happen. Okay, let me get back to this shit. Oh my God, I came over here to do something important and I've completely forgot. Oh, anyways, let me just share my screen and tell you guys about this. Oh, man. Yeah, this. Yeah, that. Okay. I love it here. Nobody wants any kind of feet pics. Anyway, let me bring this to the stage. Yo, Sausalito City in California. This city manager was charged in a yacht burglary. Here it is. Let's go ahead and listen up.
Sausalito City Council said it has made no decisions about the employment of new city manager after she was arrested. Elaine Forbes is accused of breaking into 3 boats at the Sausalito Yacht Harbor. She's been charged with 4 misdemeanor counts, including disorderly conduct and theft of personal property.
Oh, no, you guys can't see it because that's fine. They're blocking it out. You can hear the audio, though.
Later reported missing.
That's cool.
The city council met last night and discussed the issue in closed session.
No decisions were made regarding her employment. She remains on leave of absence. And I want to assure everyone that we are gathering and evaluating all of the facts surrounding this matter.
Forbes began working as city manager less than 3 weeks ago there in Sausalito. Her family says the arrest came during a mental health crisis. She's being held in the Marin County Jail on $50,000
Wait a minute!
bail.
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! No. Shut the fuck up. She was hired as a city manager while she was in a mental health crisis, because that's what that would mean. If she just became a fucking, or did she have the mental health crisis when she became the city manager? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody? This bitch broke into multiple yachts. She's the Sausalito City, California manager. And the family is saying that it happened while she was in a mental health crisis. I'm just asking questions. But wouldn't it follow that it is quite not only possible, but highly probable that she was hired in as the city manager while in a mental health crisis? Or again, it's still just as likely that the city manager job made her have a mental health crisis. I'm not laughing at the mental health crises, okay? I'm not laughing at people that have mental health crises. I've had them myself. But yo, like, I want to know who hired her and didn't like see that coming. I'm just asking questions. You know what? That's a possibility. I'm just asking questions. Okay. I'm going to start a poll in StreamYard. Hold on. Dude, I did not think that, first of all, I didn't watch these before I watched them with you because I personally value a genuine reaction. Like, this is, I didn't even read the article. I can't. I was going to ask a question in a poll and then I forgot. I can't. Okay, what was that? What was I going to ask? I got to back up. Because it had something to do with, okay. Okay. No, I can't remember how I was going to word it. It was going to have something to do with the mental health crisis and the hiring of as a city manager. I mean, 3 weeks. 3 weeks. She was just hired 3 weeks ago as city manager, and she's in. Is she alcoholic? Was she like? I'm just asking questions, okay? I'm just asking questions. Is she alcoholic? Was she in a blackout? Because that's a mental health crisis. I can see that. But I don't see how a mental health crisis that leads to a city manager breaking in to multiple yachts, from my understanding. Let's bring it back up. Shit. Now listen. Okay, hold on. Shit. Okay. Multiple. The charges come days after the Sausalito City Council placed Forbes on leave of absence for reasons that have not been publicly disclosed. She was breaking into yachts? She's in jail? Okay, maybe I'm jumping the pew here, but I feel like I can't. Dude, this one's much crazier than okay, this one's worse than I thought it was. It must have been. Okay. All right, I'm going to try to move forward with a little less judgment and sarcasm. Yeah. Hold on. Let me keep reading. Dude, I can't. Okay. Let me go back to this page, and so it's closer because I'm so blind. All right. Make sure we try again. The charges come days after the Sausalito City Council placed Forbes on leave of absence for reasons that have not publicly been disclosed. Following a closed session meeting Tuesday, the council announced it had not made a decision regarding her employment. No decisions were made regarding her employment. She remains on a leave of absence, and I want to assure everyone we are gathering and evaluating all the facts surrounding this matter. The council said the bitch should be fired. I'm sorry. I don't know what that was. Hold on. Forbes began working as a city manager less than 3 weeks ago. Less than. Sorry for yelling. Okay, three. She had been reported missing several days prior to. Okay, so hold on a minute. How many days prior to? Because it could be 4, because couple, few is several, like 4 or more. What do we mean by several? Watch out. Definition schmatzy on the case. What do we mean by several? What's up, AG? Oh my Lanta. She allegedly, well, she was caught, but she allegedly broke into 3 yachts or boats, but they were at a yacht harbor, so I'm assuming they were yachts. Maybe I'm making too many inferences here. Maybe I'm not coming from a conspiracy truther position. Oh, man, because, if I'm going to be feminist, I should at least be a conspiracy truther. I'm dead. I can't. Okay, anyways, back to reading the story. Okay, she had been missed. This is awful. I'm sorry to hear this, genuinely. She probably was in some mental health crises. But again, if we're talking about, okay, let's just say 3 to 5 days she was missing. No one had heard from her. Less than 3 weeks ago. So less than 21 days ago. So I'm assuming they're not saying 2 or 3 because it's somewhere between 2 and 3. So we'll just say 2.5 weeks. She's been working for the Sausalito. She's been the manager of Sausalito City, California. 2 weeks approximately, or 2 weeks and a day approximately or so into this woman's employment as the city manager for Sausalito City, California. She had a mental break that was so bad that it led to her going missing and breaking into people's boats. So allegedly breaking into the boats. My bad. Because according to wait a minute. Hi, Cypher. According to her family, this happened during a mental health crisis. And in the article, it says that they reported her missing several days prior to her being caught breaking into the boat. So I guess you still have to say allegedly, right? Yeah, Trump made her do it. Nobody breaks into a dinghy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like, what kind of, I'm sorry, but I need to know some more about this mental health crisis. Like, what was I guess I get it. It's a little personal to dig into those questions, but like, there were no signs, none. I get it, but like, this lady was the city manager of Sausalito City, California for 2 weeks before she had a mental health break. Somebody tells me that I'm closer when I say that she was in the middle of a crisis, a mental health crisis, when she was hired on by a city to manage it. So, you know, anyways, it's just kind of, are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? That's the whole thing right there. Are you freaking kidding me? So I'm really sorry to hear that the woman was having a mental health break. But like, I'm interested to see where this goes and what comes of it, and how much bullshit we get, right? Because it's fucking California. All right, on to the next one. So this has an ad, and I'm gonna. So if you've heard this one, we're gonna go ahead and play this. It's muted. I have to stay here on the page and let the ad run. I'm sorry. It's going to run for a minute and 20 seconds. But the author of the book on grief, convicted of murder, and husband's 2022 fatal poisoning in Utah. Oh.
Poisoning him with fentanyl.
Hold on. Let me rewind it.
Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
Tonight, a guilty verdict on all counts in the murder trial of Utah mother Corey Richins, charged with killing her husband Eric by poisoning him.
This was
with
earlier
fentanyl.
this year.
Count 1, aggravated murder.
Took 4 years.
We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant Corey Richins is guilty of aggravated murder.
The case making national headlines when Richins was arrested for her husband's murder after writing a children's book about grief. Prosecutors said that Richins slipped 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl into a cocktail that she made for her husband. They
Are
said
you freaking
Richins
kidding
killed
me?
her husband for money while planning to start a new life with a new man. At the time of the murder, Richins' home flipping business was millions of dollars in debt. The jury watched body camera video of the moments after Eric Richins was murdered, his wife Corey sobbing. But prosecutors say she had plotted to murder her husband and had already made plans for a vacation with her boyfriend. After just 3 hours, the jury finding Richins guilty on all 5 counts, including murder, insurance fraud, and forgery.
Okay, so that's really awful, first of all. And that's not the part that is the are you freaking kidding me part. The are you freaking kidding me part is the fact that she wrote a book about grief for her children so that they could learn how to grieve their father's death. Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, the other story. She I don't know. I don't fucking know, dude. Yo, yeah. Like, that story as a whole is like really awful. But like, what? You slipped, first of all, 5 times the lethal dose into a Moscow Mule. 5 times the lethal dose into a Moscow Mule. And then wrote a book and wrote a book about grief for her children so that they could grieve their, I would say properly, but I don't know that after you do that to the father of your children that you can properly write a book on how to properly grieve. I don't know. It's just me, but yeah, it's just me. So, all right, there's that one. This one is funny. Okay, let's just play it. Better play. Where'd it go? Oh, you get out of here. Oh, it's an ad. Hold on. The title of this one is super duper funny. In the news, he's called the or in like there in that area, they call him the leotard looter. All right.
Tight heist. A man in a leotard targets a parking garage cash machine. Now, Omaha Crime Stoppers is hoping you can help solve the crime. It's video you'll only see on KETV. It's the early morning hours of June 22nd. The Brandeis parking garage off 17th Street downtown. You see our suspect approach. He has several bags, a roll of something, and apparently a stuffy nose. He gradually makes his way to the cash machine. First, though, he does a little shimmy. Notice the distinctive thigh tattoos. He has keys to the machine. Police say those were in an office nearby that was likely left unlocked. He's looking at receipts. He's counting cash. At one point, he appears to stuff the money into the little clothing that he has. He actually spends about 10 minutes here. Nobody comes in or out. Here's another look at the suspect, the leotard looter. He has several tattoos on his legs and certainly a unique sense of fashion. If you know anything, give Crime Stoppers a call and get some cash. 402-444-STOP.
News guy.
You can also go to omahacrimestoppers.org.
In case you're in
Atlanta,
Atlanta.
To give your name and you'll
Or
never
Omaha,
be called to
Omaha.
testify.
If you're in Omaha. If you're anywhere near Omaha, Nebraska, and you know who this guy is, call Crime Stoppers. Hi, Panchuchin. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. So let me get back over here and let me read this. Let me read this story. We got to read the stories. Can't just watch the videos. Okay. Yep. Yeah. Why was he looking at receipts? Oh, he was trying to get like credit card numbers off of them. Bill, just take the whole box and go. I'm not a criminal. I don't understand. First of all, he looks okay. This whole thing is "Are you freaking kidding me?" But the most "Are you freaking kidding me?" part when he would look dead at the fucking camera. Like, what are you doing? Again, I'm not a criminal, but why? Why are you looking into the camera's soul? Like, it's what? Yeah. Oh, man. Hold on. Who needs fans when you're breaking into things? Am I right? Yeah. Easier to get in and get out if you don't have anything to snag anything on, right? Am I right? I'm not a criminal. Jared said, look, I'm not going to be robbing ATMs, but I'm not going to be stupid enough to leave anything that identifies me showing like tattoos in my face. We're not criminals. However, we're not, you know what, we're not. He was in a mental health crisis. He probably was. That's not funny. Listen, Kermit and Kermit right now are staring at each other. You know, Kermit, the hooded Kermit, and the unhooded Kermit. That's me right now. Like, I got unhooded Kermit over here and hooded Kermit over here, and the hooded Kermit keeps winning a little bit. Anyway. Jared says stupid. The word you were looking for is stupid. We aren't stupid. Jared said it. I just read it. But Jared's smart, so he would know. So appeal to Jared's authority. Okay, back to the story. Let's see. Oh, that's all there really is. Yeah, but if you know who that dude is and you live anywhere near Omaha, Nebraska, call this phone number. Just as long as you give me some of that reward money, am I right? I'm just kidding. Or am I? Okay, that's that one. I can't wait to get to this last story. All right, Alana, holla. Hold on, lady, don't talk.
Evans new this morning, a man in Georgia has been arrested in connection with the theft of hard drives belonging to Beyonce. Police say Kelvin Evans broke into a car that was rented.
Well, that's how you're going to look at me for a minute. That's not too bad of a shot.
She was in Atlanta for her Cowboy Carter concert at the time. Evans is accused of stealing several items from the car, including hard drives containing unreleased Beyonce music and future concert set lists. Those hard drives are still missing, but Evans is charged with entering a vehicle with intent to commit theft.
What? Hold on. I have to refresh StreamYard because I'm frozen, and you guys have to see my organic reactions to these. Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. There she is. There she is. Sorry about that. Let me get this pulled back up for y'all. Okay, let's get back to this. One more time for me because I didn't hear it.
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
I'm trying to run as fast as T-Mobile.
Well, you better pick it up because now T-Mobile has the fastest 5G home internet.
Really? Well, how's this?
No.
T-Mobile's even faster.
It is?
Yep.
Show.
Stop. This isn't the one. Okay, anyway, so a man was accused of stealing hard drives containing unreleased Beyonce music from members of her team. Pled guilty. Go away. Not you guys. Kelvin Evans, 40. 40. This is a 40-year-old grown-ass man. That's right. You heard me say it just like the feminist you think I am. He's a grown-ass man stealing Beyonce shit. Okay. Anyways, Kelvin Evans, 40, pleaded guilty in Fulton County Superior Court to entering an automobile and criminal trespass. Fulton County Superior Court Senior Judge Jane C. Barwick sentenced Evans to 5 years with 2 years to serve in prison and the remainder on probation. Well, it'd be the parole, but as part of the plea deal, he has been ordered to stay away from the victims as well as the parking garage where the theft took place. He is looking forward to putting this relatively large part of his life behind him and hoping for a future where he can make money legitimately and be part of the society like the rest of us, Evans' lawyer told the judge. Maybe I'm a bitch. Maybe I'm a bitch. But if this man hasn't figured out how to make his own money and be a functional part of society at this point, and he just got busted stealing unreleased Beyonce shit, I don't know how much I hope I have in him. But anyways, I guess this lawyer does. Yeah. Okay, so now for like this, I think he's just the funniest one, but that's just me. A Catholic priest in the Western Mexican state of whatever that word is. Evan will make fun of me if I try to say it. He can say it. Has gone viral after videos showed him using a pressure washer to spray holy water over a crowd during a patron saint festival. Oh no. Continue. I don't want to. Well, it sucks. I tried to do this earlier, but it won't let me. But yeah, here we go. The priest douses crowd with pressurized holy water. There's no comments. There's no comments on this. Let's Google or let's put this into X. Right here, over here, right? So there's one. Yeah, yeah. There it is.
El Señor esté con ustedes. Y con su espíritu. Inclinen su cabeza para recibir la bendición. Que Dios Todopoderoso y Eterno los bendiga a todos ustedes, bendiga a todos sus seres queridos, bendiga a su familia. Que la intercesión de Santiago Apóstol sea para ustedes signo de bendición, de amor y de paz. Que Santiago Apóstol los proteja, los guarde y siempre los lleve con su paz. Que bendiga a sus familias presentes y ausentes, que bendiga todas sus necesidades. Y que Dios que tanto nos ama, en su infinita y magnánima misericordia, derrame su gracia sobre todos ustedes. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Les toca a ustedes. Dale.
I don't know what to think about it. It's really loud. Sorry, that's really loud. I don't know what to think. I don't know what else to think other than, are you freaking kidding me? Take your industrial powered salvation now. I should have got them with a super soaker. I think I just read something a little out, wait a minute, out of context. Okay. What? I don't know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that there is anything wrong with what the priest did? Does anybody think there's anything wrong with it? just the day before is what he used to clean the sidewalks at the church. Probably not with holy water, but I mean, maybe the same pressure washer. Crucible Crusader says, man, it's weird. If it's clean water, whatever. I mean, it's holy water. So it's, the thing is done with it, you know? Orthodox drink the holy water. So I think that some people think that that's also weird. Jared says, honestly, no, it wasn't like it was a fire hose and he was blasting people away with it. Right. The water that was coming out of the nozzle of the pressure washer was from a confined basin. So yeah, I don't necessarily see anything wrong with it. I was just like, are you freaking kidding me? What's the engine oil blessed in? Was the engine oil blessed in that thing? I don't know. The whole thing was probably blessed. Yeah, uncontaminated. But I don't know. I thought it was funny. Not really like, again, I wasn't looking at it and going, oh, this is wrong. Just that, hold on. Just that it was a little unconventional. And Jared says, oh, I'm sure it was, Nate. All right, let me get this thing down out of here. All right. So I'm going to do a couple of things. I'm going to close that out. And I just want to make a reminder that the Grifty links are pinned in the chat. There's a Stream Elements chat or Stream Elements link. There is a Cash App link. And then there is the Suno link for the music that I create if you want to listen to it. I am working on my Suno organization currently, but there is some music that is currently available there. So there's that. Let me go ahead. Oh, listen, nobody told me my banner was still running. Thanks a lot. I'll turn that off for right now. There we go. That's a little better. This is what I should do for you because you guys just did that. I should say thanks for watching. Till next time. I'm just kidding. I won't do that to you. I might. You never know. Catch me at the right time. Anyways, it is the 27th. It is the second to last day to reach that goal. Bi-weekly goal, 7/14 through 28. 28 tomorrow, $700. We are about $10.98 away. If my math is correct there, $10.98. Catch you outside. How about it? I know. Yes, like and subscribe if you're intrigued by the dark side. Please and thank you. So yeah, so that bi-weekly goals are about $10.98 away, and then it resets tomorrow. And I have a week jam-packed, so get your wallets ready. Anyways, but you know, please and thank you. 1998, 11. What's 10 gonna get me to? 89. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my math was off. Damn. I'm been called out by my moderator on my math. Somebody get me a tissue. Anyways, yeah, there's that. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, snap. There's a panel link. There's a panel link. Yeah, my math wasn't mathing. I don't know why I was thinking 11 on 7 onto 79. Like that's 90. Yeah. I don't know. My brain's not working. It does that sometimes. Anyway, there's that panel link if anybody wants to hop on up here. It is always selective open panel when I open my panels. Because if you've been out there, doing the thing that some people do, you're not welcome on my panel. So I wouldn't even show up backstage. That's just the way it is. Also, as always, hold on. I have something. During open panels, $1 to mute, $5 minimum. That means a 5-minute minimum. Not me, though. I'll do the floss for $7 or the Trump Shuffle. You just let me know in the message which one you want me to do. $15 and I'll sing a song of your choice. No refunds because you're either going to make me humiliate myself or I'm going to sing the most beautiful ballad you've ever sung. Either way, you're going to get your money's worth, okay? That's for sure. And that's why there's no refunds. Whole Long Nate says he's going to need some help on meeting that grifty goal this week. Folks, there was an incident at the yard with his personal truck and he has to pay for some repairs. All right. I don't know. Let's see what we can find while perusing the YouTubes. Let's see what's going on over on the YouTubes other than me. Oh, did you guys see? I gained 15 subscribers in the last less than 24 hours. That was cool. Super cool. W us. I don't know how. I mean, I have some inclinations. Check Cash App, Crucible Crusader said. Oh, look at that. We're $9.99 away. Who's that? Oh, that's How Long Nate. What's up, good sir?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Also, big W in the chat for Crucible Crusader for the Big 10. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Let me add that. $10 hairs. Where'd it go? There it is. Oh. He's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Damn Chicago signals. Anyway, yeah. Hey guys, gonna need a group effort to finish off that $20 for the goal this week. Long story short, a limb got blown into a couple of my windows on my personal vehicle at the yard in Nebraska. And
did you see the leotard looter while you were there?
No, I didn't see the leotard looter. I was not there. They gave me a phone call, sent me pictures, and yesterday a tree limb took out a few of my windows. So I've got window glass to repair. It was an act of God, so insurance won't cover it. So I need you guys to finish off the last $20 for this goal. Let's just do it tonight, so you don't have to mess with it tomorrow. Tomorrow can just be all gravy and fun. Just get the goal completed so we can move on with the week.
Yeah, or.
No, we don't want to do that.
Boobies. Trying to beckon Charles.
Where is Charles?
It's daytime there. It's like noon. Got it. Certainly, he'll be waking up soon. He usually comes in around this time because when I start earlier, he usually comes in towards the end of my streams. But my main content didn't take me about 45, 50 minutes to get through this time, so.
Right.
The rest of the night's just going to be fun, and I mean, depending on who else shows up, will depend on whether, I don't know, there's some stuff that I have to be careful about, so.
Well.
I don't think that I should.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything about anything. All I know is I'm here to threaten people with their ears.
That's right. I'm trying to see what's going on YouTube. Oh no.
Oh no, what?
What up, Mr. Mister? Hold on a minute. Did I just see this right? Good. Did Hunter Biden cook Fuente in a debate?
Cook who?
Nick Fuentes?
Oh, only if they were talking about crack recipes.
Well, according to Indian Jesus's thumbnail, Hunter cooks.
Hunter cooks.
It says
meth.
Crack. It's crack. Okay, get it right.
Crack. Well,
I don't know. No, it just says Hunter cooks, and it's the and the title. I mean, the thumbnail says Hunter cooks, and the title of the stream is Nick Fuentes and Hunter Biden trade blows. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how big of a. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know Indian Jesus's views on Nick Fuentes or Hunter Biden, just to be quite frank. So I don't know what he is saying in the thumbnail, but hold on.
I don't know. I saw Hunter's eloquence on display in a Ben Shapiro interview, right? And let's just say that his dad was more eloquent during his term of presidency than what Hunter was there in that interview. So I'm hoping that Indian Jesus is being sarcastic with that one.
Hold on.
Excuse me.
Okay, so okay, I mean, it honestly, I'm not gonna sit here and obviously and like watch this whole thing while you guys just sit there and stare at me, stare at the camera, right? But you could do that somewhere else. But I don't really know him like that. I know that he showed me a little love on my on some content from Uncensored America that when I went up during a Q&A during Brian Shapiro and Rachel Wilson debate. So I mean, I have, I guess, a little bit of like respect for him in that nature, like, because he didn't know who I was. I had no idea who he was, and I was on YouTube one day and saw that he had that he was like reviewing that part and like gave me some props and shit. So I don't really know him. I just know that, so I appreciate him for that.
No, I mean he's a nice enough guy.
I know that he like gets stupid drunk on his streams, though. I do also know that.
Some people do that.
Yeah, some people do. Probably too many people, but what can I say? I'm not judging anybody. I'm just making.
I'm just
making an observation.
Right. All I'm saying is I really hope for, just continuity. Oh, stuff is falling out of my overhead. I really hope that for the sake of continuity, Indian Jesus is being sarcastic with that thumbnail.
Well, actually, when I was looking at it, it looks like Hunter Biden is asking. I'll pull it up if I can get a non-copyright. I mean, obviously, Indian Jesus is reviewing it, so Mr. Mister said he's been friends with Confluence, so I get to make fun of him. Oh, good. I'll see what stream he's got pulled up, because his looks like not like Fuentes's or whatever. I don't know. But it actually looks like Hunter Biden was beginning to question Fuentes on his intent. What was his intent on was saying the things that he said? Was he trying to build an audience? Like what was the purpose of some of the things that Nick Fuentes said? And that's what I think maybe might be worth watching. And I was watching Hunter Biden talk, like I couldn't hear him. I had the Indian stream muted, but it looked like to me that Hunter Biden was truly trying to extend that olive branch to Nick Fuentes to try and understand what the purpose and intent was behind Nick's actions when it came to those things that were regarding Hunter Biden. So, yeah, I want to watch.
Sorry, there was somebody thought that putting loud exhaust on a Camaro was going to be cool.
It's the engines that's loud, buddy.
Right, but I'm not sure if you guys heard how long that took, but it literally took him like 4 seconds to get an extra 300 feet in front of me. I'm doing 55. The accelerator was not working at full efficiency there.
So, Indian Jesus is reviewing Andrew Callahan's
Well, I mean, what's the old Native American saying?
Bro, this video has 3.7 million views. I don't know if I want to fuck with that channel. Is that the channel that did it, that originally broadcasted it, though? Because there's some other channels. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. It's like an hour and 45 minutes long. So let's fucking see if we can do it. I'm interested. I actually... Well, hold on. I did follow Fuente. That's why I called him Fuente. I did follow Nick Fuentes for a minute and thought that he had some pretty intelligent, pragmatic things to say. I found some of his jokes that some people don't find to be very funny. I found them to be quite funny. But, you know, call me what you want. But I'm interested in this, so I haven't watched him. I don't know. I fell off there at the end. I haven't watched him in a while. It's probably been a good 3 months. What is this, July, April? Yeah, a good 3 months since I've watched any of his content intently. Like I come across it, but I swipe away from it because I don't really have any interest in hearing what he has to say after some of the things that I heard him say since the whole war started, you know. So, all right, let's go ahead though. Let me get it pulled up because I was about to start it without having it on stage or sharing it for that matter. Share it, and then
you did click to share the audio, right?
Yeah.
Just checking.
Well, that's usually on on like the app when you go to share app or whatever. When you hit share screen, it's like when you move to share window or share whole screen or whatever, that the share audio toggle is off.
Right.
Hold on, let me grab this channel's hold on, I'll go right back to it. I just want to grab this, put that in the description right now before I even fucking start. All right, let's go. Let's pause. I wish I could. Hold on. I hate the. Okay, that'll do. That'll do, donkey. That'll do. Or it's that'll do, donkey. That'll do. All right. Give me a second. Let me grab my own YouTube stream here real quick and drop this link in my description before I go forward. Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, that's the name of this show. All right. Okay, there we go. Video description has been updated with the link for this channel. And close that one. Reopen this one. And let's fucking go. Oh, it's not unmuted.
Inclusion has been our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength.
White people do feel like we are being boxed out.
A 26-year-old white kid doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled, and the problem is black people.
I didn't say the problem's black people.
Well, you just did, Nick. You just
I
said
said the problem is crime, and we know who's doing the crime in Chicago.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
About the Holocaust thing?
Oh, about that. We get to say whatever we want on the internet. We get to deny the Holocaust. As far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights.
What do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. Like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person.
What about fucking Donald Trump? There's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you.
Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense.
Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel. Whichever firm is the one to develop ASI, that could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company.
Everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes.
Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platform.
Everything that AI is built on is ours. That's what they're stealing from us. I want to find
course,
common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get to, we can get there. Okay.
The kind of first question that I had whenever I caught wind that you wanted to do an interview like this is, you know, why now? What made you want to sit down for this kind of interview?
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation to have all of us here. And, you know, I think it's a moment in our country when there's a lot of realignment. You know, I think that people recognize,
he's
especially
so
in the past couple
conservative.
of years, I'm like a non-conventional critic, maybe, of what's happening.
I'm gonna,
and,
you know what? I'll
so I
pause
think it'll be
right
an
there
interesting, productive
because
conversation. I think it'll be different.
I think that oh fuck, who was it that said it? It might have been even AW. I don't know. But it's not the Republican way that he's denouncing. What he's doing is, or maybe it was even Rachel, because we don't want the war. And
right.
Trump keeps, and from this is what I believe that bare bones Nick's issue is that we don't want this war, and he keeps prolonging it against the Americans' desires. We don't want this. We don't want to continue in it. But he keeps doing it anyways. So, or maybe shit. Oh my God, maybe it was Erudite. I don't know. Somebody recently said it out loud, but it's true. We just don't want the war. It's not that we don't want Trump, because name other things that Republicans are unhappy with.
Shoot, you guys have no idea what is.
Other than the
you guys have no idea the amount of good he's doing on the transportation business.
Right. Well, here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. So don't tell me about the good. Name one other thing that the American people, the American Republicans, are pissed off about when it comes to Trump. Name one other thing other than the e-files. Everybody's upset about those because it involves children, and we just want the truth. We don't care who goes to jail. If you did it, you need to go to jail. Period. We don't care if you're the president or whoever you say you are. But my question is, other than the war, what's one thing that the majority of Republicans are unhappy with? One other thing. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's not the Republican way. It's not the conservative way. This era's Republican conservative way. Because remember, the Democrats used to be where the Republicans are now. There has been a complete party shift. Believe me, my grandfather was a Democrat, an old Democrat, and just refused to go Republican because he didn't want to be a Republican. Okay. Staunch Democrat, but not because he was liberal in his ideals, because he was a staunch old Democrat. That's it.
Right.
And ideally, he was politically conservative, socially conservative, and Republican. But he wouldn't say that out loud. Now you wouldn't catch him a day he was alive saying that out loud. So, anyways, let's get back to this. I just wanted to point out that it's not necessarily Trump or the Republican politically conservative way that Nick has an issue with, or the majority of other American Republicans. It is this war is the problem.
Different. But I mean, specifically because we kind of share a publicist. I heard that you wanted to kind of. Okay. we have a publicist that you hit up, and you said that you wanted to talk to someone who would give you kind of a fair shot to like clear up some things and maybe some misconceptions about you and the things you believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think that, I'm somebody who I think like you, actually, maybe we have this in common, is kind of pigeonholed in a certain way for things that we've done in the past or things that we've said.
I'm a crackhead.
Mine is true. Yeah. My mine's a little true. Maybe a little, no. But yeah, so I think it'd be good to clear up some of the misrepresentations and put out something accurate.
So what do you think is the most misrepresented thing about you?
Well, I think really the whole image everybody has about me. When you mentioned me, I think on a recent show, you said you want to ask me, why are you a Nazi?
Yeah.
And that's how everybody knows me. Everybody thinks of me as white supremacist Nazi. And I don't think that's really true at all. I think that we definitely have different values. I mean, you're more from the left, I'm more from the right, but I don't think I'm a hater. I'm not a hateful person.
It is Heil Hitler Friday. Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis.
Morgan Hitler was very fucking cool.
I remember all this. Okay, so
I do.
One of them.
And I'm tired of pretending he's not.
So what's the thing about, I guess, traditional Nazism that you think you disagree with the most?
Well, it's a non-Christian ideology. So, I mean, look, I believe that race is real, as the Nazis did, but I don't think it utterly defines a person. As a Christian, I think we're all created beings. I do believe there's such a thing as a universal human community. And so I think it's a cruel ideology. I said this on my show, by the way, but I mean, that would maybe be the fundamental.
Did you always feel that way?
Always, yeah, absolutely.
What do you mean he's
even whenever you were younger and stuff?
I did, but
I'll take that.
You got to recognize times have changed. 10 years ago, we had a totally different political world. The regulation and policing of speech, what you would call wokeness, I think was at an all-time high when I got started as a very young man.
What you would call wokeness?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think, I mean, would you not say there were some excesses maybe in those days?
Yeah, in those days, I wasn't doing too well.
He's starting to look like his dad.
Anyway, I would love to hear, and I'm not asking you to like retract everything that you've ever said and all, or anything, but I said that I would love to talk to you because number one, I told you this, is that I think you're really smart. And
all right,
I think
allegedly
with that comes
and high probability.
a real
high probability,
responsibility.
but it's still alleged.
And you have an audience. And I have a friend whose son is my daughter's age, maybe 28, your age. And he's really smart. And he is a big fan of yours. And so by virtue of the relationship, I got to learn what it is that why he is a fan of yours. And none of it has to do with, I would hope you agree, like really egregious things that you've said in the past about the Holocaust or about,
Did the Jews ever talk about the 100 million whites that died in World War II? Or do they just bitch and moan about the so-called 6 million Jews that died? And so it's just nice to poke holes in it. And
so this is kind of the point that I was saying. Like, I didn't, I could see that Nick Fuentes is not an unintelligent or extremely ignorant young man. He's quite learned. And so I think that I think that the left was super offended because he wasn't afraid to be like, look, this happened a long time ago. Can we stop fucking talking about it? Can we move on to shit that's like happening now? The same for other exhaustion that we know exists. Like, can we just move past it? It's done. That doesn't happen anymore. It no longer exists. We're moved beyond it. We're damn near we're what? 80 years? We're 80 years later. Yeah, we know. A lot of people were harmed. It's really fucking sad. But can we move the fuck on? And Fuentes wasn't afraid to say it. But you know how a lot of other conservatives are. They don't want to, they don't want to rock no boats. But Fuentes wasn't afraid to say, like, look, there's exhaustion when it comes to certain ethnic groups and racial groups. It's there. Sorry, not sorry. And I didn't take him doing that and throw all of the actual things that he was knowledgeable about and pretty in line, like some of the shit that he said's pretty correct, So I didn't take all of that and throw it out the door simply because, like Crucible Crusader said, Fuentes is extremely hyperbolic. He speaks in extreme hyperbole. Yeah, so it halted him being built, then Trump has to deal with filibustering Dems. Yep. Mr. Mister said he only became popular after the October 7th left-wing college protesters and proven with receipts, online, foreign, Islamic bots that are the majority of these people's viewership. So, I mean, he's not dumb. Like I said, he's not all that ignorant. I'm sure there are things that he is ignorant on, but on most of the topics that he speaks about, he seems pretty knowledgeable. But that's coming from a woman, so what the fuck do I know? Shut up, lady, get on with the content.
Say it's not 6 million. 6 million? I don't think so.
And I don't even know. I think I've heard you since kind of rescind a lot.
Yeah,
of
a lot of people
You concede that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust.
Possibly more. Possibly, we're discovering all the time. So it could maybe even be more than that.
But what he agrees with is kind of the anger.
That
the
was
anger about
sarcasm.
the situation that particularly your generation finds yourself in. I know that to be real. And I think that there, maybe my reasons for recognizing that anger as being legitimate and my targets are different than yours. I just wanted to hear from you. When you say you were canceled by the right in 2016.
Yes.
I almost felt like in preparing to meet you now, is that your reaction to that was to just dig deeper and deeper into kind of the outsider kind of radical.
The conservative right canceled him because he said what they were afraid to say, and that's just my opinion.
And it's not an accusation.
That's why I said the ones that are hiding in the fucking corners and are afraid to talk.
I mean, there's certainly some truth to that, but I think that might be overstating it a little bit because I really got canceled by the right and the left.
Yeah.
And back in those days in 2017, you had these far left journalists at Huffington Post, Right Wing Watch, ADL,
like
SPLC. And I really believe they were on a mission to find extremist rhetoric, the white nationalist, neo-Nazi boogeyman, all that kind of stuff. And they would look at someone like myself, 18, and if I was being serious or joking, things taken out of context, they would clip it, post it, and they wanted me to be the villain. And I think they wanted a lot of people to be the villain. I think the left, in a way, kind of created this climate where I think they pushed a lot of people farther to the right.
No, by the way, that very well may be true, but you gave them a lot of ammunition.
That's true.
I mean, I hope that some of those things that you said in the past are not things that you believed in and that are you meant just to engender like a really radical kind of response. I mean, is that true or not?
Well, again, I think that back in those days, you could not say anything. In 2017, 2018, cancel culture was so in overdrive, any joke, any edgelording, anything like that, they would, first of all, there's no sense of
See,
humor.
I'm so old. I don't even.
Exactly.
Okay, well, to break it down for you, so the dawn of wokeness as it's known today, I think was in like the post-Trump era, after Trump won the election in 2016. There was a big movement to deplatform. And
I would say on that, that there are, one, comedy is comedy. Shane Gillis should have never been canceled for shit. However, Comedy Central, or not Comedy Central, but Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live went left. So I don't really know what to say about them. But as far as stand-up comedy, it's no holds bar. That is no holds bar. Nobody's forcing you to show up to listen to jokes. Nobody's forcing you to continue to sit in the seat that you're in and listen to those person's jokes. If you don't like their jokes. Somebody just came in and left. Well, whoever it was, come back. So it's like, there's a line, right? But there's a line, I wouldn't say there's a line in the comedy industry. I don't think there's any lines in the dirt in the comedy industry, except for maybe families, right? Kids. But even husbands and wives aren't off the table, I don't even think. But kids would definitely be off the table when they're young. So, but in the real world, where we're all living in reality, where's the line when it comes to the joking? I mean, I guess you could definitely be in a setting where it would the environment, there would be a social environment with individuals that may not be the same political I don't know. I guess I'm trying to like work through, like, in my brain, where it becomes just, I don't even know the word that I'm looking for. I don't want to say offensive, right? Because in order for something to be offensive, someone else has to be offended by it, right? So if you say something and know it is, if I say butt crack and nobody is offended by it, then what I have said is not offensive. But if I say butt crack and someone gets offended, well, then I've just said something offensive. But it doesn't have anything to do with me. It has to do with whoever's receiving the word. Yes, comedy is subjective, and it's also well within your control of which comedy you want to consume and which comedy you don't. Did you spurg? I didn't even see you spurg. I didn't see you spurg. You're fine, Mister. But thank you for the apology for something that I don't think you did. Yes, egregious. And I think that that's kids, right? I think, and things that the other end, that the individual doesn't have, like, yeah, I guess, I can't name like all the different things that are like no-nos, right? Because I laughed at Matt Rife's joke regarding the waitress with the black eye. Okay. So, and of all people, I should have been offended by that joke. I wasn't offended. I thought it was hilarious. I thought Matt Rife's DV joke was hilarious. Okay. I should have been offended by that, but I wasn't. So did you a little bit? Well, thanks for apologizing, but I didn't see anything wrong with what you were saying in my chat. So you're always welcome here, sir, as long as you are within TOS. My mods will leave you be and you can vent away. All right, let's get back to the content. Shut up, lady.
kind of push away those who I guess the left feel like had galvanized them into the presidency. So there was this big idea that if you push people off mainstream social media platforms, they would go away. Now we know through Trump's reelection, that's not even true. But at the time, that was the mantra. Problematic viewpoints needed to be silenced, tucked away somewhere, and they would just sort of die in isolation. So I think that was the climate where you first got started, 2017. That time period was like crucial for getting people off mainstream platforms. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I would say that you got to get into the psychology of those days. It felt like anybody that wasn't on board with the most progressive agenda had no options. There was just no alternative. It was going to be progressive, liberal, feminist, BLM, all that kind of stuff. And if you were to the right of John McCain, you're no platformed. Censored, banned from all the platforms, you're fired from your job, you're ostracized socially. And I think what happened really in 2021 when Trump got banned from the platforms is it felt like 70 million people got canceled. 70 million people that voted for Trump, or 60, 70 million people, we were all felt like, oh, so if Trump is out of politics and we're all banned from the platforms, then how is there any redress for our grievances? Do we just have to shut up and get with the program and we're all going to be progressive? And I think that drove people to a far more radical place where people said, well, what really
was that you? Oh my goodness, it was. Mr. just paid a fucking $50 Spurg tax. W's in the fucking chat for Mr. Thank you so much, Mr. You're amazing. So let's go ahead and let's get that banner changed to 700 and then some. So let me go ahead and hide it and edit it. Okay. Where's the plus sign? Where are you at, plus sign? There you are. Plus. Oh, shit. I can't think. $39.98 is going towards. I think that's right. I don't have no calculator. I'm doing this in my head. $39.98 is what we're over. There it is. Oh, I need to change the date there. Hold on. Let me edit that one more time. Sorry. I'm unorganized, bitch. This is as of 7/27. Bye, Nate. Come back soon. He probably lost signal a long time ago. All right. So there it is. Biweekly goal 714 to 728 has been met as of 727. We are at $700 plus $39.98. Thanks to Mr. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate you. 740. It's $39.98, right? I know, $39.98. The $39.98 has to go towards the next biweekly goal. Oh, okay, cool. My math is good then. Thank you for that. All right, shut it, lady. Back to the freaking content.
Is a solution.
I do like this, by the way. This is a good conversation.
We can't participate in the process or run for office. And I was one of the people saying that's exactly what's going to happen. It's going to drive people to extremism. If you don't talk, if people don't feel like they have a seat at the table and enfranchisement, I think then they start exploring options outside the system, outside of the political process, the democratic process. So I think it's self-inflicted in many ways.
So you feel like after the mass deplatforming in 2021, whenever people on the right got pushed to platforms like Parler, Gab, Rumble, etc., the lack of discourse and like the political singularity of those platforms created more extremism?
Absolutely. Because look, you take Trump off of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I predicted this in 21. I said, watch, you're going to see alternative social media rise.
Here, I'll drop
because
this,
some venture capitalist is going to see there's a huge market of 70 million people that are going to follow Trump because Trump is no platformed. And that's exactly what happened. Rumble blew up. Elon bought Twitter. And what happened when you had total free speech on these platforms? Well, Twitter now resembles 4chan. And now, there's no gatekeepers. And I think it did push people in a radical direction. And honestly, people are even blowing past me. Now there's like mainstream normie types that are even blowing past me in terms of how radical they are. People start saying things like, there's no political solution, there's going to be a civil war, we need a revolution. And I think that's because the message from the left was, you're crushed. You have no options, you can't win, there's no alternative. Trump is going to be indicted and charged and can't run. You can't be on Twitter, you can't have a job. And so people started to say, okay, well, you know, we still exist. We're still here. We still have these concerns. What do we do now? And then people start to say, well, we need a revolution. And I'm one of the only people saying, no, we should still engage in the process and talk with each other. And it's not all one-sided. I think there's problems on the left and the right, but I certainly think it takes two to tango.
Okay, so there, we agree. I think that there are problems on the left and the right. And I don't disagree with some of the things that you just said. I guess I just came to a different conclusion that there are some things that people should be deplatformed for.
I would agree that there are problems on the left and the right. And I would also agree that adults are, and some certain age, developmental age children, you know, can be held responsible for their behaviors. But you have this whole demographic of individuals that spends the majority of their time on the freaking internet. Okay. So prior to this situation that I'm currently situated in it, I didn't spend nearly this much time on the internet. I didn't spend nearly this much time in front of YouTube in the manner that I do. I wasn't immersed in the negative propaganda that was coming from the left, or that was, you know, whatever I can't call it negative propaganda if it's politically conservative, but propaganda nonetheless that was coming from the right. So, but you do have this whole large demographic of individuals that spend the majority of their time on the internet, and they're seeing all of this liberal messaging, like Fuentes just said. But I think that when the conservative right is constantly seeing that's called fear mongering, right? And so they're being flooded with that information, and then what they do is they react proportionately to the fear mongering. So to them, it's rational. The way that they're reacting to these issues is rational, because they're absorbing extreme liberal propaganda and then reacting. So I don't know. Shut up, lady. Somebody tell me to shut up in the chat. You know how to do it.
Not that they can't say it where they want to say it, but I think that it's a right of anybody.
Okay, top 3 things. What do you think?
There's a difference between being able to say that you're proud of your white heritage and also being just flat out racist. I think that there's a difference between saying you're proud of your Christian heritage and the white culture from what you come from and Nazis, or that you adopt the Nazism as a legitimate ideology. I think that there's a difference between saying that you disagree with the United States policy as it relates to Israel and saying that the Holocaust didn't exist.
I was like, Mom, Dad, Hitler was awesome. Hitler was right. And the Holocaust didn't happen. And my parents were like, we cannot believe.
Those would be top 3 things in my mind. I know that you believe that some people took you out of context. And I do agree. Look, on both the right and the left, there are these gatekeepers.
I'm going to make a new one.
And look at me.
Where the response is going to be
just destroyed me for 7 years without any real kind of reflection about what they were doing. I do think that, you know, some of those.
Yeah, buddy, you're the son of the president of the United States. Maybe you shouldn't have been smoking crack. I don't know.
We don't want you on our, on our commercial
Not
platform.
humble opinion.
Would you agree with that? I mean, you just said, for instance, people calling for like an armed revolution, like people calling for actual violence. You're opposed to.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm against violence.
Yeah.
And I do think those are one of the legitimate things that should be taken from the platform. You know, there's a lot of the stuff on social media I don't agree with, but again, you know, what started to happen is there was this like editorial censorship where certain ideas were banned. And it was such a broad brush and also totally opaque and ad hoc. You'd be on YouTube, like I was, for example, they banned me for life and didn't even give me a reason. Not a specific quote, not a specific infraction. And so you don't know what the rules are. You don't know what the process is. They just take you down. And especially now when everything is digital, that's not just the social platforms, it's the other ones like Uber, Airbnb, whatever. It feels like you're being denied almost something like a civil right. The social platforms are the modern public square. Increasingly with Uber, Airbnb, the banking apps, you can't live your life without the tech platforms. And it felt like if you just simply had the wrong opinions or you were the wrong kind of person, you were being deprived of like a basic civil right or being able to participate in society. So, you know, and I think maybe that's an area of collaboration where we recognize maybe it is a civil right to use the digital platforms, but here are the rules. Here's what you can say. Here's what you can't say. Here's the process. Maybe there's a reconciliation mechanism. But I mean, the censorship was just out of control. I don't think anyone disagrees there's a reasonable limit, though.
Yeah, no, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't see that as a result of left-wing or right-wing ideology. I view that kind of level of deplatforming. Look, I was debanked. I was debanked before I was ever even charged with anything. I lost every bank account. It took me, 9 months once they, the Trump administration, said that they were starting an investigation into me to be able to actually get a bank account again. And I don't want to tell you the bank because tomorrow they may debank me again. But my point is that those people are incredibly identifiable. I've been talking and going around and I say things like, I don't think we are nearly as divided as they're telling us we are. Because I do believe that there are an identifiable group of people that are responsible for an enormous amount of the discord and division because they make money off of it. I think that these social media companies that are controlled by 3, 4, 5, individuals have made it clear that they only care about one thing. They only care about how much money they can produce for themselves and, the people that hold stocks in their company. Even to the degree where we know for certain that they're driving teenage girls to the highest levels of suicide by a factor, like exponential factors, directly related to the content that they're being pushed, and they won't do anything about it.
Right.
And so, to the same degree, I think they, a lot of what you call wokeness was maybe an illegitimate, but a financial decision based on a lot of these.
Corporate psyop, maybe.
Corporate psyop.
Thank you.
I mean, by the way, exactly.
I just wanted to back up real quick. So you talked about certain people going too far. About 2.5 months ago, I visited a whites-only community in Hardy, Arkansas. And I don't know why. I guess coming from like a more like left-wing place, I'm from Seattle. I kind of assumed there was like a united front on the right for some reason. So I'm out there. I'm chilling with these dudes.
Hold on, okay? Because there are areas where I am from that are majority white, and any race and or ethnicity outside of that, if they do live there, it's for very short periods of time. And I think they might be going into nationalism here, maybe, or white nationalism. This might be where they're going to segue into. But it's not uncommon, like where my family is from. So I don't know. And I get it. People should be accepting of individuals, but I don't know. I guess you guys are seeing my white nationalist come out. Oh shit. I'm not a white nationalist. But I just don't see anything wrong with that. And I guess we'll watch. Shut up, lady. Let's go and get back to the content. Also, Mr. That's common around here. You tell me to shut up when I start.
I had a hard time connecting with them because I don't agree with them, but it's all good. I was having fun for a couple days. And then, like, right as I was there, I guess you had hit them up on X or something and said, like, hey, I don't want to associate with you guys. What happened there?
Well, that was really more of a personal disagreement with the guy that founded it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an interesting project, and it's interesting that got so much pushback, this whites-only community, because you know what? If you go to a lot of these different neighborhoods in major cities, there are ethnic enclaves, and it's not like there's an explicit rule that you have to be a certain ethnicity, but we all know in Chicago and New York and LA, you got certain neighborhoods where it is 80, 90% one ethnicity.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of white people that say we kind of want something similar. I don't think there's anything.
Well, okay, let's back up. If you want to talk about the histories of, New York and Chicago, I feel like that was also a conscious decision that was made after the Civil Rights Act.
Blacks only. It's in Cabrini Green, where Mayor Daley made everybody that was black live in the Cabrini Green. I mean, it's not. It wasn't by choice. It's not by choice that these ethnic enclaves are 80 or 90%, whatever that ethnicity is. It's because that's the only.
But okay. So this comes down to tribalism, right? Like, what is wrong? Okay. Maybe I'm an immoral feminist and I just don't understand what is wrong. I was going to say morally wrong, but that's like what do you call that? A redundancy, because wrong. Yeah. Okay. So bad. So what is immoral about tribalism? I think I'm not a fan of extreme tribalism. But what is wrong with tribalism? Because that's all nationalism is, right? Or am I ignorant? Isn't nationalism the same thing as tribalism? Not equally synonymous, but analogous. Like, yeah, I mean, what is this? 2026? 66 years, 60 years later? Why is it still like that? Why? Right, because there's only one fucking tribe, or there's only two tribes. And this is where, okay, so I'm not a white nationalist, right? Because I say, like, I don't care what color you are, but if you're a Christian, and I guess that's too broad because you can't just say Christian, right? To some people, but I think ultimately it comes down to it. There's two tribes. There's believers and non-believers. Okay. But it has taken gentrification of urban areas to get these racial enclaves to disperse. Why? Why does it take that? Or again, am I just ignorant here? Or am I misunderstanding all of this? Because from my perspective, the way that I'm observing it, I get how gentrification can be bad because it displaces individuals. But these individuals in the areas of these cities that are being gentrified are on assistance. And they have refaced and built new public housing in these gentrified areas. So you've got some really nice looking government housing right down the street from like $1 million fucking penthouse. They look great, but the economic difference between the two households is quite a gap. So I don't know. I guess I'm circling around the main idea of why is tribalism or nationalism bad? And like, was it Jared? Yes. Why has it taken 60 years and forcing them, some of them out, most of them out? And what they've done is they take these these ethnic and racial enclaves inside of urban areas. They gentrify those urban areas, and some of those people are pushed out to the suburbs, and some even out into rural areas. So now you have urban culture being dispersed out into the suburbs, where it's been for a while. I lived in the suburbs about 10 miles straight shot into the inner city. So like the main road where I'm from, like where I lived, like when I was born or whatever, up until I was, I don't know, like in the same area. Anyways, it's like 10 minutes into the inner city. So when I was a teenager, like me and my friends often would go into the city. But I'm 45, so we're talking about 30 years ago. When it was a lot worse than it is today. I can tell you right now that when I go into the inner city areas of the city that I grew up outside of, it's a lot different. It is a lot different. And now a lot of those people were pushed out into the suburbs and rural areas, and you have public housing apartment complex that are either owned by HUD or accept HUD vouchers, and therefore are contracted with HUD and have to maintain their properties in a certain manner. This is what happens when you gentrify, but it has taken gentrification to crack these fucking ethnic and racial enclaves. Okay. I'm against urbanization. I don't know if I'm against urbanization. I hate urbanites. I have a serious distaste in my mouth for the urban culture. And I pray about it. Okay. I do. Hold on. Let me do a chat check here. Yeah. Okay. So hold on. Less Christianity, more tribalism. Trust me, you don't want raw tribalism. Yeah, I get that. But when you look at it, raw tribalism, I mean, if there's only two tribes, there are tribes of believers and tribe of non-believers, then James says it's all group preference. It can be class-based, rich people with rich people, religious-based, race-based. Yeah. Just a preference. The left calls it racist, which it's not. Nationalism just means for your nation. And Mexican in Mexico, Japan is for the Japanese. It's not racist in reality. Right. But then you add on the race to the front of it, and you have a whole, you cause riots, you know? Basically, it's only racist. It is only racist for one group too. Both are us groups. Apparently, it's not racist if it's Somali fraudsters enclave. You know, guys, I don't usually do political stuff. Okay, I don't usually do political stuff because I paid just enough attention to know what's going on. So please do not hesitate to ever be like, no, you're saying something incorrectly, or you're wrong, or, you know, because I pay enough attention to know who I'm voting for, what their policies are, you know, and then, you know, I ask my dad who he's voting for. And that's how it goes. So shut up, lady. Now you're really prattling. Get back to the fucking content.
Place in which they had an opportunity to live unbothered, or where they were told that they had to live because of the historical fact that they could not move into other neighborhoods. You could not move into parts of South Chicago without, you know, being stoned.
Right.
Literally, right?
Yeah.
And so, like so it's not as if those ethnic enclaves are there by choice. You know, and so that
also
maybe they weren't at first
for like specific variations of different Europeans. Like, you know, there is like places that are chocolate. Like South Philly's full of Italians.
There's
you know, it's
Little Italy.
New York has
I think
Little Italy.
What I always
I've
like,
been there.
what confused me the most about the whites only community is like there's just so many different kinds of white people
And
in America. You know, so like to establish a unified white
Greek
culture with a
Town
place
in
so
Chicago
diverse and
is
full of like different
amazing.
regional flavors just kind of felt confusing
Just
to me.
saying.
Because that could mean a different thing depending on what part of the country,
love
what European
Mediterranean
enclave you
food.
originated from. Like we're we're Irish people from the Philly area. Can you compare that to like, you know, surfers in San Diego or even like, you know, Italian Americans in Staten Island? I don't know. Everything just feels so different. So when I got there, I was trying to identify what they meant by white culture. It wasn't really based on shared like cultural practices, but more the exclusion of people who weren't white. So they weren't like stoked on being European necessarily. They were more just like, oh, we're here because those people aren't here. So it just kind of felt more negative than constructive.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not really involved with that project in particular, but I think that, look,
okay,
I mean, you talk about the anger that's out there and the frustration. And I think part of the frustration.
What if, because he just did talk about the European enclaves that exist, because that's where they came over in groups, right? They came over in groups and many of them stayed in those groups. The Appalachians stayed in a small group, which is why we have cousins, sisters, and uncles. Cousins, sisters, and uncle brothers, you know. Is because they came over in groups, they stayed in those groups, and their communities grew from those groups, right? And they stayed in the same areas. But there's a major difference. Is there not? Is there not a major difference between Greektown and Chicago, Little Italy in Manhattan? It's Manhattan that has Little Italy? I've been there. I think it's Little Italy in Manhattan. It was a long time ago. I was like in my mid-20s. But like, what's the difference? But what is? I'm not asking like, yeah, but what's the difference? I'm literally asking, what's the difference between those ethno enclaves of the Euro ethno enclaves? Is that what I'm saying? That right? And the I'm trying not to get in trouble. The more typical urban enclave. Typical American urban, not Euro enclaves. What's the major difference between Euro enclaves in the inner city and American neighborhood? Yeah, I mean, in the inner city neighborhoods, those are enclaves. We're talking about when you have a whole like 6 blocks of the inner city that is nothing but one race or one ethnicity, that's an enclave. So my question is, what is the difference because a lot of these exist in the inner city, like Chicago, Manhattan, and LA. What is the difference between the Euro urban enclaves? And I'm talking about little like Greek areas, Italian areas, Russian area, like those types of areas in the inner city, and your typical American urban enclave. And I'm trying to not get in trouble, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. Because the typical American urban racial enclave is not. So what is the difference? I don't know. Maybe I'm not asking the question like articulately enough because I'm trying to avoid violating TOS. Let's move on. Let's just move on. Shut up, lady. Look at his face. That's hilarious.
let's be honest, is that white people do feel like we are being boxed out in major cities in the country. And it feels like, look, there's a little Haiti and there's various ethnic enclaves where you get that local culture and they do their cultural festivals and that sort of thing. And white people feel like they're being pushed out and they want a space where things are familiar.
Do you feel the same way about the Italian festival that happens in every city?
Well, here's a good example.
Or St. Patrick's Day?
Well,
we're watching some
there's
funny
no Irish neighborhood in Chicago. Little
Sure
Italy.
there is.
I mean, there's some
Also,
remnant in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And,
It's important to note that, like, and I'm not trying to get into like a shouting match here, but like, as a family who coming from a family who did leave Philadelphia in the 60s because of black migration from the South after the Civil Rights Act was passed, there was a sort of like mass flight of white people into the suburbs, and that kind of led to a homogenization of different cultures because they rushed so fast to build these like identical strip mall suburbs that it was very hard to maintain cultural bonds that made different European and white neighborhoods unique around like the 1950s and before. So I feel like the mass suburbanization is also a big factor that led to those like cultural bonds breaking.
Yeah, but why did that happen? I mean, a lot of the suburbanization is because of the race riots in the 1960s. People moved out because of the violence. My grandfather was in the National Guard in Chicago when, after MLK got assassinated, the whole West Side burned to the ground. Yeah, and people didn't want to be around that anymore.
Why were the riots?
MLK Jr. was assassinated.
Yeah.
I was 21. Yes, I was 21. Okay, it was the first time I ever got a spray tan. Okay. I was looking good. I was glowing orange. I was looking a little bit like Trump. Okay. So me and my husband at the time, my friend went to university in Chicago and we were going to visit her on spring break. Now, mind you, the GPS at the time was like GPS shit for your car was like really expensive in 2001 or 2002? Yeah, 2002. Yeah, because I was 21. Okay, so 2002, like GPS shit for your car, it was like super duper expensive. So you had like maps that you could like print off or like big maps, because you used to have to know how to read a map. I know that might be missing some of you, but we got lost in Chicago, okay? And I can't remember. He called her on the cell phone, maybe. And she asked us, like, what intersection, like, what roads were around us. And we told her, and she said, you need to get the fuck out of there. She's like, you need to get the fuck out of there right now. Her boyfriend at the time was a Chicago native. So, when I look back, I'm like, we were in the South Chicago. We were in the South Side. We got lost and ended up in the South Side. And she said, you need to get the fuck out of there right now. It doesn't matter which direction, just go. We were like, okay, we're gonna go. But let's get back to the content. Just a funny story about me in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so does that justify burning down the city?
No, I didn't say it justifies it, but it sure justifies an enormous amount of the anger, the same kind of anger that you feel about being left out, the same kind of anger that you're expressing right now about the idea that you're culturally irrelevant, that you don't have a place in society. Imagine if you were a 26-year-old black man in 1968 and saw your hero be assassinated.
I saw Trump get shot in the ear and
did he?
And I saw Charlie Kirk get shot, and I didn't see any cities get burned down.
Whoa!
I think it's a very, very different thing.
Whoa! Did you hear that? Who the fuck else heard that? Type it in chat. Type it in chat if you just heard what I heard. Did Hunter Biden do what I think he just did? Are you fucking kidding me? You guys heard it. Okay. He just questioned whether or not that was real. Okay, I'm not crazy. All right, thank you for validating me. Let's get back to the content. Oh my God.
I think
How's
it's
that different? Charlie
absolutely
Kirk got shot in the neck.
Yeah.
And
what
liberals
the hell?
celebrated
By whom?
all over social media by Tyler Robinson.
Yeah. Who is what?
Who is some liberal guy.
He is?
Mm-hmm.
What?
He's got a transgender boyfriend.
So that makes him liberal because he's transgender, because
I think
he's
so.
gay?
Well, because
Yeah,
he's
that's
got a
liberal.
transgender boyfriend. Yeah, I think so.
That's
It makes him
definitely
liberal.
not social.
I think he was liberal,
Or
yeah.
Okay.
conservative.
Well, he didn't come from a liberal family. He didn't come from a liberal enclave. He didn't come from a liberal background. He's not a minority. He was a Mormon, correct?
Mhm.
And grew up in a Mormon household. And he went to a
Crackhead,
largely
yes.
Mormon college.
Tard, we don't have the
and
evidence
he
for that.
ended up committing an act of
Allegedly
violence,
tard, okay?
according to the FBI and the authorities in
come for
Utah
us.
that charged him. How does that in
Keep me
any
off
way
this crucible,
compare
Crusader.
to what we're talking about? I'm not justifying the violence that occurred after the death of Martin Luther King, but you're
Don't make
saying
me
that that
time
person,
you out.
this
You've
Tyler,
been a little
whoever his
spicy
name is,
tonight, sir.
was as disenfranchised as the African American community in 1968 in inner cities.
Well, the question is who we want to live around.
I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry.
And in the 1960s,
I
the West
watched
Side
that
burned
one
down.
when it was
We don't want to live
live.
around that. We don't want to live around a
That's
city that's
not when
burning
that
down.
happened. That's not when the white flight happened.
It is.
No,
It was
is
a big
not.
response to it. Absolutely.
100% not. You
Absolutely.
make these historical connections that don't exist. Part of it was potentially, but before that, what Mayor Daley did is made Chicago the most segregated city in the entire United States, other than Boston. When you would come from the South to Chicago, African Americans
It
from the
was
South,
really awful
blacks in
what
the
happened.
South,
But
coming to
again,
Chicago would say that
like
Chicago
Jared
was
pointed out,
twice the level
60
of
years.
segregation and racism that occurred in the South. And so it wasn't as if
60 years,
you're
bro.
coming into a situation in which you're feeling in any way
It took
enfranchised by
gentrification
the community and the
to
situation
make
that you're in.
them
And as many
leave.
people left simply because of the idea that someone was black moving into their neighborhood as the violence that occurred after the assassination of Martin Luther King. So the numbers actually, pre-1968, when King was shot, you had more people leave the city because of the desegregation, because of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, than you did after the riots.
I think that's just not true. I think that the race riots were a huge driver of white flight to the suburbs. I think it's just dishonest to say that's not the case.
Okay, so what's your point about all of this?
Well, we're talking about where people want to live.
Yeah, I know.
have
So,
a
like,
bunch of people in my family that
2026,
voted
Well, how about
Trump,
in
but
2020
they
when
are,
Minneapolis burned to the ground? Or how about in the summer of 2020
that I
in
think you would
Chicago?
probably
Minneapolis didn't
classify
burn to the
them
ground.
as
It didn't?
No, I mean there were
Right.
BLM
parts
didn't
of it,
destroy
but-
Okay,
dozens
yeah.
of
if you guys need a
Libertarians,
physical
because
witness to
they're
what happened in
conservative,
Minneapolis, there were many structures that burned to the
politically,
ground. Not the city,
uh,
but there was, I would say,
liberal,
between 40 to
socially.
50 buildings off of Lake Street in the south side that
That's
did
where
burn
most
to the
of us
ground. But
contest, me and
most
my
of the city was
family.
intact, but it
Most
was
of us
quite an
vote
intense situation.
Republican.
People don't want to live around
Majority
that.
Republican.
People don't want to live around that. You know, in Chicago,
But I'm
it
more
rolled
socially
on into the
conservative
summer,
than a lot
and
of my
it
family
wasn't,
members.
you know, let's say the anger of the oppressed and the disenfranchised.
So
They
who's at
were
fault?
looting. They were looting and
Who's they?
carjacking. The criminals.
Are you saying that the problem with the 26-year-old white kid living in suburbia outside of Chicago and his feeling of being disenfranchised is because there was looting and rioting in Minneapolis by black people, and it's black people that are doing it?
Yeah. I mean, the problem with
Are you
Austin
really?
Metcalf was that he got stabbed in the neck at a track meet. And the problem with our city in Chicago is that the Magnificent Mile is gone. Water Tower Place is gone because of all the crime.
Nick, and the time from an entire generation of African Americans is that they've been getting killed by cops for decades.
That's
What are
just
you
not
talking
true.
about?
Going,
Nick,
I'm going to
Listen,
go
commit
AFK
crime.
for a second.
Listen,
I need to find my
it's not-
sunglasses.
Nick,
'cause
What?
That's
this
not
light
true.
is burning.
It's not true. Are
it
you
is.
saying that police brutality as it relates and racism in the police force, in the way in which police treat African Americans? Nick, you could grow up here like I did between Wilmington and Philadelphia. And if you were a black dentist and you lived in Wilmington and you commuted to Philadelphia, the chances of you being pulled over by a state trooper, either Delaware or in Pennsylvania, are about 50 times that would be if it was a white guy. 50 times. And
We're
so what
talking
you're
about-
trying to tell me is that the problem in America right now is that a 26-year-old white kid who lives in suburban Chicago doesn't feel like he has access because he's been canceled or he's been woke. And the problem is black people.
I didn't say the problem's black people.
Well, you just did, Nick. You just
I said the problem is crime. And we know who's doing the crime in Chicago. The carjackings, shootings, teen takeovers. We know why there's no business on the Mag Mile anymore. And it's because they steal cars, they drive them through windows. And listen, black people are some of the biggest victims of the black crime. But we're not allowed to talk about it because of the racial
What do you mean
dimension.
You're not allowed to talk about it? We're talking about it right here.
Hey,
you
guys,
have a platform in which millions of people listen to you, Nick.
I think
well, after Elon had to buy
All right, well,
Twitter
I
and
can't
open it up.
find my
It wasn't like that
sunglasses,
before.
so
I
I'm
was
just
banned
gonna
from
keep my
everything for many
camera
years.
off,
So
but
no,
I
you
gotta
weren't
turn
allowed
this
to.
light
You're
off
right. We can talk about it now, but that's only because the good guys
Nick.
won.
Hey, what's up, guys? There's something I forgot to tell you about. We also just launched our own streaming platform called C5.now. We have 5 films on there right now. Film number 1, the rat film, to circuit procrastinate cycle dude, get the train to your store, create it, and what's your video. So get your
enormous platform. I want to find content. I went from being banned on Twitter to being on YouTube to creating an entire show. I know you're not, but now you have Kick and now you have all of these other things. You have an enormous platform. I want to find common ground of how much of a shithead Donald Trump is. We can get there. We can get there. Okay. What I don't understand is how you didn't recognize that in 2016, and how you didn't recognize that in 2020, and how you didn't recognize that in 2024. Because Donald Trump hasn't.
24.
Because Donald Trump hasn't changed.
I
Donald
would
Trump
say
hasn't
I'm
changed
more
at all. Donald Trump has
socially
been Donald Trump
conservative than
since
my
he came out of the
dad
womb
even is
of a
almost.
woman that was an immigrant to this country.
Definitely more
And so
socially
what
conservative
I want to know, though, is that I don't know how we get past this idea that the biggest problem that you have with your personal situation and how you extrapolate that to the situation of other white kids that are your age, that feel disenfranchised, that feel left out, that feel they don't have a shot at the American dream, is because of black and brown people, because of Mexicans, because of Venezuelans, because of Haitians, it's always other, Nick, with you, it seems to me. And I've listened to a lot of the stuff. It's always them. We need to build a wall. Where's the wall, Nick? He never built the wall. Why'd you vote for him in 2020? Why'd you vote for him in 2024?
I didn't vote for him.
Okay. My point being is that whenever you identify your problem as being something that is other, that you can point to, that's a minority, that is a group of people, that's the Jews, before, remember, all of us, it was the Irish Catholics who were committing the crime, who weren't allowed into bars, who weren't allowed into, because you know why? Because they were dirty, poor, non-Europeans. They were Irish. Every time it's wrong. Every time history has proven that to be wrong in the United States of America. Every time. Inclusion has been our greatest strength. Diversity has been our greatest strength. And I hear you talk about this idea of white culture. What fucking white culture are you talking about, man? What
Shakespeare, Dante, Mozart. We're in Philadelphia, the founding fathers.
Yeah.
That's your white culture.
Would you consider that part of our white culture? Sure. Okay. Well, it was written by a black man in France in the 1700s.
In a milieu of European civilization.
Listen.
So what?
Because you're picking out one example. It really
I'm not
is.
just picking out one example.
It really is.
Nick.
Listen.
Nick, I'm not. I really am not.
Hey, guys, I think we're reaching what's called...
I think that, one, I'm interested to hear what Nick has to say. And also, I apologize for being off camera. The light that I have that sits behind my laptop was really bugging my eyes, and I can't find my sunglasses. So light off, camera off, because otherwise lighting is really bad. Anyways, so I'm not really being political. I am not a political person in that manner, but I was a fan of Fuentes. But I stopped watching him a few months ago, and wanted to hear what he had to say. And he still has great things to say, and he has not the worst perspective. And I mean, Hunter Biden has even said some okay things, but then he brought in the Trump assassin. I don't know if I can say that word, conspiracy that's saying that Trump, that whole attempt on Trump was not real or whatever. I didn't I was like, because nobody addressed it. The host didn't address it. Nick didn't address it. They just kept on rolling right past it. So that was interesting. So yeah, I really want to hear what he has to say. And I mean, I think that my guys, now correct me if I'm wrong, excuse me, but I think as far as my political, like, as far as me being political, it's more from a social perspective honestly, where it should be, right? Because I see the positive in enclaves or tribalism, nationalism, however you want to put it, that, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I pointed to the the Euro neighborhoods, that ethno-Euro. I'm not talking about, you know, me, right? I'm European too, but my family has been here since like the mid 1700s, I think, is where we've traced it back to. Like my earliest known ancestor came over here somewhere around 1750. So I'm talking about like ethno enclaves inside of cities, metropolitan cities, where a lot of problems are. And Jared brought in, I think I might be rambling. I'm trying to timeline here without rambling. Jared brought in the fact that the racial enclaves that exist inside of the inner cities have had 60 years to not be there, not by choice, but they continue to be there by choice. And I brought in the fact that the claim, I shouldn't say fact, the claim that it took gentrification of inner city areas in order to disperse those racial enclaves. And then a lot of those individuals ended up in the suburbs and in some more rural areas, which has caused a lot of problems. So I'm not completely against urbanization, right? Not in the broad sense, but because I see the benefit of like smaller communities, right? But so if you have a racial or ethno enclave, I don't see anything wrong with that just on its face. But the type of behaviors that come from those areas is the problem. And where do most of the problems come from? That's all I'm going to say. And we're going to get back to the fucking content.
A rock in a hard place. Let's talk about Israel.
Maybe I'm not making sense.
Let me respond to this, because you're telling me I'm always blaming the other.
I hope I'm making
Nick,
some
for real,
sense.
for real. Here's the thing, is that the way that you talk and throw out these historical facts, which, by the way, aren't fucking facts. Okay?
Which ones aren't facts?
My dad does, so I do, yep. Mm-hmm.
As it relates to the Civil Rights Movement in 1968, and the reason why we're out in the problem that we're in is because the Civil Rights Act passed in 1964. Dr. Martin Luther King was killed and shot by a white racist, white supremacist in 1968 on a balcony of a motel. That's the root of our trouble, because an entire people that
was really awful.
You know,
it's really awful.
For over 400 years.
We're sick of hearing about that, though. It's 2026.
You may be sick of hearing about it, but you know what?
See, Flunky will say it.
And I'll tell you what, Nick.
Get
here's the other
over
thing.
it. Get over it.
See, there he goes.
But Nick, you can say stuff like that, okay, without having to say it like that. And we look.
That's not how it started, though.
This is a legitimate argument, but it's Nick.
Guys, Nick, Hunter, what do you guys make of the concept of community collapse? Have you guys heard of this?
No.
So it's got nothing to do with race, got nothing to do with money.
Oh.
But this is kind of a crazy stat. So in 2019, before COVID, 76% of Americans said they were a part of an in-person community that gave them some kind of value. After COVID, and this year, it was 19%. So I think that Politics and race aside, one of the biggest issues is the collapse of social bonds. Third spaces.
I have been bringing this up over and over and over and over again, that the problem, the one of the biggest problems that we have in this country is the collapse of community. And COVID it wasn't the start of it. It started way back when, and we know that feminism has a lot to do with it. And so you've broken apart the community, and now no one is helping each other or reaching out to one another for help, because it's all about fucking me, and stepping on people's necks to fucking get ahead. There's no fucking sense of community in our society. And I shouldn't say no sense of community, but there is a serious lacking when it comes to community. And I don't think people understand the fucking word community anymore. All right, now I'm spurring out. Shut up, lady. Get back to the content.
Communities, in-person engagement, which comes with loneliness, more time online, and more division. I understand. I feel like you guys aren't going to agree. I want to talk about what you guys think can be done on an individual and community level to stop people from hating each other and to create more belonging and engagement.
Well, number one, I think this. Okay, for real.
Podcasting.
No, not podcasting. This discussion. For me to be able to sit down with someone who I so vehemently disagree with and find some kind of common ground.
But I mean, guy at home who's watching this on his phone, just thinking, I wish I could go outside, but I don't know anyone.
Okay, well, here's what I'm talking about. It's all about connection. It is all about actually connecting with people. And I'm not talking about digitally connecting with people anonymously online. I'm talking about actually going out and connecting with people. And I don't have an answer to that. I don't, any of us. We're in look, man, I just think that you are targeting the wrong problem, Nick. I think that our biggest problem right now doesn't have to do with this cultural divide or racial divide or religious divide or the idea that America is becoming less white or culturally relevant anymore. I think our biggest problem is literally an oligarchy that is inflaming every single division that we have. And by the way, and they're out for you, man, just as much as anybody else.
Well, and I agree.
So those platforms that we talk about that you're not allowed to be on because Elon's out on the platform. Elon doesn't give a shit about anything other than one thing.
Wait, Hunter, I just want to say real quick.
Money and his money.
I don't necessarily even agree with that.
Okay, well, you may not agree with that because you don't want to piss off Elon Musk.
Elon doesn't even want
like these billionaires.
Don't piss off Elon.
Elon,
I need that
Neuralink.
Homie,
They are trying to engineer things to make it antisocial. They want to eliminate every single small business. They want to make everyone a single person shopper, no carpooling, like to be a lonely consumer who only buys things for themselves online and doesn't talk to anyone in real life. That's what they want in real life. Like all this data center shit, like everything they're doing is in a way trying to break up in-person engagement. And I feel like for you guys, it might be hard to answer because both of you guys are what they call like controversial public figures. Like there's places that you, like in 2018, if you were to go to a dive bar in, let's say, Poplar Bluff, Missouri, you would have been in danger. You know what I mean? At that time. For you were in danger physically in a left-wing city. It's just the truth. So I feel like you guys have been deprived of the ability to have normal lives. You especially, but I mean you in general, but I feel like, your controversies came a little bit later in life. For you, I feel like you haven't even been able to grow up as a normal person. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that's true. Well, and in terms of, building community back and everything like that, the data says that really the loss of society is the fact that we don't encounter people anymore. For example, on your way to work or, in ways that are unexpected. People wake up in their house, which is separate from everybody else. They get in their car by themselves, drive to work by themselves, and then they meet with their colleagues and everything, but then they go right home, home, have a beer, watch Netflix until they go to bed. Next day starts all over again. And so, I think it has a lot to do with maybe how we structure the cities. I think honestly, a big part of it, there's like this abundance mindset with liberals. Liberals want to have prosperity and everything like that. How can you have that when the cities are not safe? I think that one of the ways, for example, if you want to have those encounters that are unplanned or spontaneous, they're going to happen maybe on the subway, on the bus, on your way to work. People don't want to ride the subway anymore. People don't want to ride the bus.
And pause this because I don't know if this is on par with the topic. Let me Let me look into a statistic before I talk out of my butt, because I'm curious. I want to further validate my claim that big government has a lot to do with the collapse of community, because big government has more control when there's a fragmented society. So again, before I talk on my butt, I'm going to look up a statistic real quick. And while I do that, what time is it? I've been live for, what time did I go live? 8:30? 2.5 hours? Okay. I'll let you guys listen to a regular song. What do we want? We need like a... well, let's listen to this one. All right. I want to bring into this, but I want to make sure that I'm correct on it before, because I'm pretty sure I'm right about it, but you know, I might be that person.
You say you wanna make a change, but you keep doing the same old same. When's it gonna start to feel real for you?
Now this is exclusive to the United States, so I'm not including the world population in this, but I'm just including the U.S. population. So this is exclusive. All right, I'm going further back in this little research that I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to pause this because I'm going to get to my point now. I know it's difficult. My camera's not on, and I know people come in here and it's like, oh, just some music and nobody's doing anything. So from 1976 to 1925, all right, so I went back approximately 50 years. Single mother households increased from 5.4 million to 7.67 million. It's about a 42% increase. Single father households increased from 0.9 million to 2.57 million, and that's about 186% increase, nearly tripling. Total single parent households increased from 6.3 million to 10.24 million, and that's about a 63% increase. So in 1976, let's see. Okay, in 1976, there were approximately 33.3 million families with children under the age of 18. Married couple families made up about 81%. Single parent families, the other 19%, if you can't do math. In 2001, there were approximately 25 years later, there were approximately 34.1 million families with children under the age of 18 in 2001. Married couples made up about 72%. Single parents made up the other 28%. So in 25 years, we went from 81% of 81% married couples, 6.3 million single parent. In 2001, it was 72 to 28. And as of 2025, 23.3 million are married couple and about 10.2 million are one parent families. And that is including single mothers and single fathers. And that these are families with children under the age of 18. So in 50 years, we went from, hold on, let me get back down here to this chart. We went from single parent households in 1976, 6.3 million. In 2001, 9.4 million. And in 2025, 10.24. So not quite the increase from 2001 to 2025, because single mothers only increased by about 700,000 approximately. The single father household almost double, not quite, but it was a significant increase. It went from 1.8 to 2.57. So million single father households from 2001 to 2025. But ultimately, there was only a 1 million-ish, a little less than 1 million increase in the total single parent households in 25 years, where in the 25 years prior to that, it increased by 3 million. So when I say that big government has a huge hand in the breakdown of community, that's what I mean. They have, and feminism has a hand in it. I don't want to get into the feminism part, but it's in there. But this is not just about the breakdown of the nuclear family, because the breakdown of the nuclear family happened because we broke down society, and the nuclear family had to work harder, and more stressors create more problems, right? So I wonder if Hunter Biden understands those statistics. I don't fucking know. Anyways, that's my piece on that.
They don't
I just
feel
feel
like
that
it's
if
safe.
you look at the data, like right now, 2026, I think 2025 had the lowest homicide rate of any year in America for like the past 40 years. I feel like if you compare data from the 90s, like the cities, I get what you're saying, but the cities I have noticed are a lot safer. They're also, you know, becoming more expensive as well. It could have something to do with it.
You're absolutely right. It's what you're saying, Nick, is impossible to refute, right? Because everybody has an experience with violence or witnessing a crime, or whether it's just in their local newspaper or not. Is that I don't think that is in any way limited to only urban environments. I take the top 10 poorest red states in the country, and their crime rates are 10 times what many urban centers are.
So you'd be comparing like West Virginia, coal country, disenfranchised to like an urban neighborhood.
Yeah, in terms of per capita crime, in terms of per capita murder, in terms of per capita child sexual abuse, yeah. I think the things that people really care about, you know, things like that, is their own personal safety.
Yeah.
It is not limited to African-American urban or Latino-American urban environments. It's not. It exists. Carjackings do happen, but you know where they happen? They happen in Biloxi, Mississippi, just as much as they happen in Chicago.
I'm skeptical of that.
I mean, I just think the idea of like safety at risk, crime has been, I feel like media has overblown the level of danger.
Everybody's going to fact check both of us on this. And
but
I agree with you. Is that but my point about it, all of it is, though, is that you can always point to a reason, Nick. There's never been a time in which there hasn't
At least we have
been
more access
crime
to more
in
resources,
major
you know
urban
what I'm
areas
saying?
where you pack a lot of
To
people
actually
in. You're
fact
right,
check
though,
people, and we
is
don't
that
have to
the
just believe
difference
what the fucking
between
news tells us.
feeling like each other were our neighbors and that we can find some common ground.
It was
is
much
the
harder
fact,
to prove
you can live in
conspiracies back in the
existence
day.
now, and by the time you're 56 years old, and never really have to leave your house to make a living. To you don't go
Now
to
everything's
the
on
community
fucking
center
video.
anymore, and I don't know how to fix that. And
Well,
I certainly
it
don't
all
know how to
connects
fix it
back
in
to
the age of
politics,
AI.
right? Because community is
in
like
my
an essential
day,
human need, if not the most important
didn't
thing.
leave
So when you are
trails of
deprived of that,
evidence
you're
on
more
the
likely to
internet
look for a
till there
radical
was no
solution
internet.
and be like, everything's broken. We need to try something really out there. So you might embrace something more reactionary on left or right to be like, fuck this, we need something new. And I'm not trying to draw this like male loneliness, like incel pipeline that the media tries to do all the time. But do you see a connection there between like people being lonely and having less friends and subcultural choice taking over community value systems or community engagement and people just like driving to the extreme?
100%. I think social dislocation is probably the number one problem of our times, because you look at the young people, and you're right, it is one of those essential human needs, is to connect and have that sense of familiarity, to be seen, to see, and to be seen. And that's something young people don't have. And I think, by the way, if you look at the way young people socialize and even the mentality, I think a lot of young people have this absolute drive to go to college. Why? It's an extension of high school. And what do high school and college have in common? It's a community. You're in the quad. You can see and be seen. There's sort of like a status, reputation. You're constantly involved with other people. And I think everybody, young people, look at when they graduate from college like falling off a cliff and now life is over. Because now you just have your job, the gym, and going back home, and that's it. And this is why a lot of young people then want to move to the big cities. Got to go to New York, got to go to Chicago or LA where it's happening. And they want to get a condo or an apartment downtown because they want to go to the bar scene and extend college a little bit longer. And I think that's just not really a sustainable way to have a society. There has to be a way for people to still have that sense of community outside of, let's say, college and high school, even into their adulthood and then into their old age. So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems going on. And I agree. I think it drives, even to your point about the whites-only community in Arkansas, I think it is driving these, let's call it ghettoization or insulation of people going into these artificial values-based communities.
Yeah.
Because where are you going to find people? Go online, start spouting about politics, or, even not just for incels and right wingers, but even on the left. Someone like Tyler Robinson, he's on Discord. He's on Discord with all of the Overwatch players and all the LGBTQ or whatever. And I think that, there's a tendency there where everybody kind of amplifies some of the resentment or feelings there. So I agree. That's a huge driver.
So for you, like back in high school when you were like first kind of starting to use the internet and all that, did you build most of your community in person outside Chicago, or was it mostly online?
When I was in high school or college?
High school.
High school, I had real friends in Model UN. That was my favorite thing. So that was.
But you were still creating like some
Lord
kind
have
of
mercy,
content.
there's still
Not
an
in high
hour
school,
to
no.
get through. Why
So you
did
went
you
to
guys
BU?
let me
Yes.
prattle
Were most
so
of your
much?
friends like classmates there? Like when did you start to kind of build your online persona and
You know what?
community around your
We're-
content?
It
we need to
wasn't
speed
until
this
I
up.
left
We're all too
college.
fast.
So to that point, I had friends in college. And then when I left college and started my show independently, then it was all people online. And everybody I knew was people from my community for the most part.
But your cancellation from mainstream platforms
that's like
was
me.
effectively the same thing as like a community collapse for your personal life, right?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even say it was just a
Had to
cancellation, but
isolate
even
now
more
most
just
of the
returning
people
home from
talk to you on a
college.
What do you
daily
think would have
basis on
happened
the
to you, like
internet.
career-wise and personal life-wise, if you never would have been mainstreamed? I mean, I guess removed from major social media platforms.
Oh, it'd be a lot easier to make friends, let's say, because being banned on Instagram, you might as well be dead. In Generation Z, that's how everybody sees each other, meets each other, talks to each other. So I think I probably have a wider, livelier circle.
Do you feel like you had less friends after that?
No, I'd say it's about the same.
No, but I mean, you said that you feel like it would have been easier to make friends.
It would have been easy to make more friends, yeah, sure.
So aside from your career, how was your personal and social life affected in those following years?
Well, it's brutal, I mean, because everybody that I knew from high school is on Instagram, on Facebook, and I'm just not on there. It's almost like you're removed from the earth. For Generation Z, I understand for older people, for different generation, people still meet up or stay in touch in other ways. But if you're not online as a young person, you might as well be dead.
Do you think you would have said some of the more extreme things that you did say if you, I guess, were allowed to remain on the mainstream internet?
Absolutely, yeah.
Looking back, I'm not trying to get you to take something back necessarily. What's one thing that you said when you were younger where you're like, fuck, wish I could take that back?
I don't know if I regret
hold on,
what
'cause
I said. It's just how you say it.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have had to say some of the things that he said if some of the things that happened prior to him saying those things hadn't happened. I mean, did he have to say those things? No. But I already said that one of the things that I think attracts people to Nick Fuentes is that he says a lot of things that a lot of conservatives won't say, but are thinking. That one, I've seen it on people's t-shirts. It says, you were thinking, I said it, but you were thinking it or whatever. I said it, you all were thinking it. So I think that in my opinion, that's one of the things that attracts people to Nick Fuentes. So, but I think that he still would have said things out that weren't about that. So I don't know. Anyways.
Can you give an example of where you listen back to something and you're like, geez, I wish I could.
So I did this rally in 2023 called Fuentes Rally 2. And the one comment I said, we're talking about a spiritual battle between Christians and everybody else. And I said, we're in a holy war. I said, and we're going to make them die in a holy war. And the second I said that, I was like, didn't mean to say that. So you don't rehearse it. You just say things. And I was like, didn't mean that. Shouldn't have said that. So it's always the how. It's always in the delivery that I...
Nick, I can think of about 4 things that I really wish you would take back right now. The cookies in the oven.
Well, it's a joke.
But it's not, Nick. My wife is Jewish. My son is Jewish. No, Nick. I promise you. Don't get mad.
I'm not mad.
Okay, I know. But you got to understand how incredibly, whether it's a joke or not, it's a lived experience passed down from generation to generation, whether or not, and by the way, not just from the Holocaust, not just from 1939 on, 2,000 years of history, okay? Forget about Israeli politics and
hold on a minute.
Because I think we agree about
hold the fuck on, bro. Hold on, okay? Do you see me over here bitching? Do you, I guess maybe because I don't know why. Okay, let me ask this question. Because why? Why? I don't even know if I have any other attachment to that other than just why. Turn it off. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Nick was wrong and I'm just being a bitch. I don't know. Keep going.
I've listened to you talk about it, but you got to understand. Look at me, man.
I see.
It hurts. It hurts.
Does
Nick, I promise you it does. When you compare my wife's family to cookies going to an oven, it hurts. And you've got to understand that. And by the way, I'm looking at you, and I believe that you do know that.
See, that's where you lose me. That's where you lose me.
Okay, Nick. Okay, I'm telling you.
Well, listen, are we here to talk or are you here to lecture me and
preach? Okay, no, you're right. Let me listen.
Okay,
you're right.
So this is the thing, because, and I think this is a disconnect. I think that the left, and even people on the right, they're losing the young people. Why do people love me? Not in spite of, but because of the outrageous things that I say. Not in spite of, but because I say offensive things. Because I, let's say, drop the N-word on a video or something. It's because people are sick of the preachiness, the lecturing.
Okay, I listen
they
to what
really
you
are.
But Nick, I disagree. I think that you're appealing to the lowest common denominator of of thought. If you're hating on the people that they think are the reason for their suffering, then you must be on their side. I don't think that you believe that about the Holocaust. I think you think the Holocaust did happen. But forget about whether or not you think that it is used politically in a way that is obtuse and wrong. But I think that you do believe that. And I think that you have to. Like, what's your cultural heritage?
I'm Italian, Mexican, and Irish.
Mexican. When did they come in Italian? When did the Mexicans come? When did the Irish come?
Mexicans came turn of the last century. Yeah. Italians came in the 1860s. Yeah. Irish came in the early 1900s.
Okay, so maybe you wouldn't care about something that is grossly offensive just on the face of it. And think that, oh, why can't people just believe that that's funny? But you got to understand, from the perspective of somebody that has the trauma, and I think that there is such a thing as generational trauma, and those stories are passed down generation to generation. When you say something like that, it's just they completely shut off. They can't hear another thing that you're saying about this cultural disconnect, about losing communities, about the feeling of being left out or left behind in a world in which there no longer is this sense of community. All the other things that you said, everybody else is left, and what you do pick up. You pick up the ones that hear the dog whistle. You pick up the ones that say, yeah, that's the way that I feel, because it's radical. It's like he's willing to say the thing that nobody else will say in this environment. And then you get an enormous amount of
I'm actually gonna take this route because what about not that like okay, so I am not condoning all street preachers, all street preaching methods, because the more like Pentecostal style fire and brimstone, like salvific, like the people that walk around with like the salvific claims on the signs and shit, I don't condone that. But when you have street preachers and people are coming up to them and spitting on them and making fun of them and saying that they believe in a sky daddy and all these other things, why isn't it treated the same? Like I'm just curious to know, like, when do the Christians get equality when it comes to religious slander? Like, when do we get protected? When are we going to be protected? When are we allowed to invoke some kind of protective I don't know, whatever. I'm losing words right now because this fucking enrages me. Our cities allow pride parades to go down the street in the presence of children with individuals dressed in a BDSM getup. Like things that, whatever. Things that should never be worn in public, especially in the presence of children. And that's absolutely disgusting. But if we say something about that, we're bigots. So when do we get protected? When are we allowed to call the police on someone and have them arrested because they're slandering us and berating us and like when I don't know. Let's fucking keep going because this is a pressure point for me.
But
we want all this fucking sympathy for them, but what about us?
That. I don't believe that you think that it was appropriate for you to say
Michael
something like
Jackson.
that. I don't think you believe that it's appropriate to say women shouldn't vote.
Let's give Nick a second to respond to the first thing.
I know I talk constantly. That's how I do this.
It's all good. It's all good.
I apologize.
I get it, and I understand that perspective, and it is offensive, and it is provocative, and that's sort of what makes it funny. I mean, what we would say in our generation is edgelording. We're being edgy. We're being provocative, and I think that it is that kind of overbearing sense for our entire.
Nick, I'm a king of edgelord.
Well, it's that overbearingness that my generations had our entire lives. That's not appropriate. That's not funny. Think of the trauma. That's racist. That's white supremacist. That makes it funny. That makes it different, interesting. And let me grant, by the way, I think that now, and this is maybe a concession towards you, now that my kind of humor has become mainstream and popular, I don't even think that that's funny anymore. People do the edgelording thing. It's become so commonplace and so tired. I don't think it's that funny or impressive. That's a big part of why I kind of moved past it, because 10 years ago, it was treated like sacrilegious. And there's something funny about the fact that you could say a word or make a joke and make people lose their minds and freak out. And it was like an international incident if you said the wrong thing. And I think that's what made it tempting, especially for a young person. You want to rebel. You want to be defiant. You want to be a little revolutionary or something. Now, as time has gone on, I think that's become a fad. Everybody does it. It's lost its power. And I think that, by the way, part of why we're getting less of it is because instead of getting the preachy lecture from the left saying that's not appropriate, people just roll their eyes. Now, when an edgy white person says the N-word, people roll their eyes and go, really? You know, that joke again? People hear someone wears a Nazi costume, makes a Holocaust joke. People go, really? That joke again? It's not impressive. It's not funny anymore. We've seen it before. And ironically, that is what makes you get less of it when you disempower those things by not giving them this over-the-top reaction, pretending like it's some great travesty.
So you think the new counterculture is going to be woke again?
No, I think it's a synthesis.
A synthesis of post-edgelordism and wokeism?
Yes, because I think that wokeism had its excesses. Edgelording also has its excesses. And I think now we're finding a middle ground between saying the edgiest thing we can think of with no regard for anyone and saying everything is racist. You know, if you say something, you should lose your job. We're finding a middle ground where, you know, maybe it's tasteful, tastefully offensive in small doses, less is more.
So it sounds like you believe in the survival of the American spirit.
Yeah, I really do. And listen, I don't think everything about wokeism was bad necessarily.
What's the best thing about wokeism?
I think that genuinely it has made people more respectful and empathetic. Because let's be honest, 20 years ago, let's say when I was growing up, I think there was a lot of cruelty. And I think there were some hateful attitudes. I think as time has gone on, this younger generation, they may not be even left-wing. They may not be what you consider woke, but I think they are respectful of people that have different ideas or, you know, different way of life or from a different culture. You know, we make jokes all the time about the fact that I'm like a far-right guy and I'm Mexican. People say I'm a white supremacist, I'm Mexican. And people make a joke that a lot of far-right people are Hispanic. And I think that's a consequence that there's very little genuine racial hatred in anybody's DNA anymore, or any kind of hatred. And I think that's positive, but that went too far. I think some of the other stuff went too far as well.
You know, one of these strange things about sitting in a room with these two is that they agree on almost nothing, but they've both lived the same nightmare. Hunter had a laptop turned into a decade of strangers picking through his texts, his private photos, his voice memo, and even his bank records. Whereas experience most fraud ever happens when you're banging 7, 10, and up.
That was a great way to throw an ad like that up.
I mean, people make fun of me for that, but I guess.
Channel 5, all cap a little bit.
Un poco.
Okay,
I don't speak it from my dad, so.
Did you grow up like around a lot of Mexicans?
No.
I might have to watch this guy a lot more.
Did they know you were Mexican?
They did.
I've never seen
I'm not gonna lie. I
before.
mean, people make fun of me for that.
What'd they say?
Well, like for example, one time when I was in Model UN, I was entering high school as a
I
freshman.
don't know
They
what
looked at my
his
name on the
content
roster
is
without knowing me,
usually.
and they told me this after the
That's
fact, the leadership of the
probably why I
club. They
don't
said, "Oh, we thought you were
pay
just some
attention to
Mexican kid, so we gave you a bad committee assignment."
Wow.
But see, I heard that and I laughed. I said, that's funny. You know, whereas a lot of people would say, oh, that's traumatic. I'm a victim of racism. You know, I think that's, you know, it's just a human thing.
Yeah, I always felt like growing up as like a white kid in America.
What if you went,
I'm a victim of a lot of things.
But as being Mexican, and they didn't tell you that's the reason that they gave you all the bad committee assignments.
That would be unfair.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm just saying.
That's the whole point, isn't it?
And
so
you
may find it funny because you pass as a white Anglo-Christian.
Do you think I pass?
What?
You think I pass as a white Anglo-Christian?
Well,
I'm white
Anglo-Christian. I think you
Anglo-Christian.
identify as a, yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, but really, for real. And my point is that I heard you do an interview, okay? And I literally on the write up here, it's like you were talking about how you were raised on like Mark Levin in high school.
Right.
And the thing that you liked the most about Mark Levin is how cool he was to the callers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that. Like the joke about the cookies. It may be a joke and it may be edgelording and you may not really mean it, but you got to realize the cruelty to it. And without going like, oh, like, you know, wham, like, you know, people got to stop crying about the past. And that's the thing, is that I think that you have such an opportunity to talk to a generation of disaffected, angry, legitimately angry people in a way in which is positive without having to do that shit. And by the way, and I'm not holding you responsible for like, you know, the end of you know, my conception of Western civilization, which is different than yours, but I just don't get it. I don't get why you find the cruelty. And I think that, by the way, I think that that's why you like Trump. I mean, I'm making, you know, like a very unfair leap because his first instinct is cruelty. His first instinct is to find the fault in the other about everything, by the way. It's not his fault that we're in a war with Iran, that he's ended 38 times and, you know, and started 39. It's not his fault that inflation's high. It's not his fault that the wall didn't get built. It's not his fault that ICE is killing people on the streets in these places. It's the cruelty of it. Maybe it's a generational thing. I got friends who are Jewish that are going to be really, really fucking pissed off that I'm sitting next to you. And what do I tell them? What do I tell them why it's okay for me to sit and have this conversation with you?
I guess I just have such a different opinion of that. You know, why should we have to explain ourselves to talk to anybody? And why is it that saying the wrong words or making a particular joke makes it so the Jewish person wouldn't want to watch my shows? I have a lot of Jewish fans. I mean, some of my best friends are Jewish. I've had Jewish employees, and they recognize that, you know, just because I'm not necessarily nice all the time doesn't mean I'm hateful, doesn't mean, I don't even think they see it as cruel. I think they see it as it's a little rough around the edges. And maybe that's the difference, is I guess it's just attributing this weight to something that can considered a joke and maybe doesn't have a cruel intention behind it. Like, you know, Mark Levin, you got to remember at the end of the day, it's an entertainment show. It's entertainment. People call in. He gets frustrated with them. It's part of what I do on my show. And it's not always nice, but it's funny. And I don't think it's mean-spirited necessarily. And I don't think it's that big of a deal. So, I mean, the thought that I would, like, for example, with you, people say, why do you talk to Hunter Biden? His father and his DOJ froze your money.
Ongoing, what he's talking about is an ongoing topic of debate within certain spaces. So I think that is like, you know, the nice versus kind thing, because that's exactly what he's saying. He's saying that it's not mean-spirited, so it's kind. It's not mean, so it's not malicious. There's no malicious intent, so it's not mean. It's not mean-spirited. It's kind, but maybe it lacks tact. So, you know.
Money and put you on a no-fly list. I'd say, so what? I mean, it's just talking. I don't think talking's a big deal, you know?
Froze my money and put me on a no-fly list too.
There you go. See, so we got that in common.
So a different question that I have that kind of weaves everything together. How do you think like October 7th and the subsequent like pro-Palestine movement and the online world it created led to a growing audience on the right?
October 7th in particular? Yeah. Well, I think it highlighted and brought to the forefront how captured the right wing is by Israel, which is very unique. I think the Democrats and the Republicans are pro-Israel, but the Republican Party has this inextricable institutional connection with the Israel lobby, with this Likud government in particular. And I think people just started to see the hypocrisies. The hypocrisy was brought to the forefront, which is America first, but not with Israel. No new wars except for with Iran.
Under Trump, we will have no more wars. No more wars. No more wars. He said he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. Tonight, Iran's Navy is gone.
You know, we're going to be racist and all these things, but don't you dare be anti-Semitic. Don't even, think about it.
I see good things about Hitler also. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table.
If you don't know who this dude is, you guys probably do. I don't.
It made it unignorable that there's this ideological institutional capture.
I just feel like a lot of straightforward, like just anti-Semite influencers were taking advantage of the post-October 7th discourse to push other ideas, broader ideas about Jewish people as a whole.
Come out and say it. Like, I think that Jews are causing a disproportionate amount of problems
Who
in
said
the
the
United
host
States.
was a douche?
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to ignore some of those other conversations. I know that it's now become maybe in vogue to say that the Israel issue is very narrow. It's just Netanyahu. It's just the Likudniks. It's just the Israel lobby. But, what would you say about someone like Larry Ellison? I mean, somebody like that, I don't think fits needs. It's just because
as a whole.
Come out and
it made it unignorable that there's this ideological institutional capture.
I just feel like a lot of straightforward, like just anti-Semite influencers were taking advantage of the post-October 7th discourse to push other ideas, broader ideas about Jewish people as a whole.
Come out and say it. Like, I think that Jews are causing a disproportionate amount of problems in the United States.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to ignore some of those other conversations. I know that it's now become maybe in vogue to say that the Israel issue is very narrow. It's just Netanyahu. It's just the Likudniks. It's just the Israel lobby. But, what would you say about someone like Larry Ellison? I mean, somebody like that, I don't think fits neatly into this, let's say, problem of Netanyahu.
As far as installing Barry Weiss and whatnot.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because this is somebody who's not Israeli. He's not even a religious Jew, but he's ethnically Jewish and has this deep affinity for the state of Israel.
I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people.
And is using and mobilizing his power and resources and connections to benefit Israel in the private sector. And so if you were to say, what's a law that we could pass to prevent that kind of influence, what would it look like? He's an American citizen. He can't buy a media company and hire Barry Weiss to run CBS News, and yet we recognize that's a big problem.
I just feel the conflation of like anti-Zionism and like Holocaust denial played into the hands of the Israeli propaganda apparatus, because then they can say, hey, look, these people that oppose what we're doing in Palestine also don't think the Holocaust happened. It's a big jump in public perception.
It was almost to me as if that was your intent, to lose any legitimacy about it.
And I'm going to ask this question. Now, don't hate me, but in a capitalist society, again, don't hate me. But if we are a capitalist society and the issue is that like the Jews are they're buying up Jewish people, Jewish communities, whatever, I don't know, are buying up all of the real estate and all of this and all of that. And if what is the issue with that when it comes to capitalism? Aren't they just I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know. See, I don't want to talk out my butt. But I guess it's the immorality in the process the immorality that is inside, or that is a part of the way that they are doing what they're doing. I'm like at a loss for words right now. Sorry, it's late. So I guess oh man. So I guess in a conservative, socially and politically conservative, I don't fucking know. I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at this and trying to like play devil's advocate and like set aside my confirmation bias and look at it like and say that like they're just taking advantage of capitalism, but there's no morality. There's not a whole lot of morality involved. But when it comes to capitalism, morality isn't it's not a factor. When it comes down to just like skin and bones or whatever, bare bones capitalism. All right, get back to the fucking shit.
Any argument as it relates to Israel and the Likud government is to say those edgelording things or whatever.
Jews are money changers, bullshit artists, psychopaths, charlatans, grifters, manipulators.
I don't know anybody that can hear you after you say that, including myself. It delegitimizes everything because I don't think that you a little bit of more compassion.
Let's try to stay a little. I don't want to do any character attacks on Nick.
I'm not attacking his character. I'm not attacking him. I promise you. I'm
no,
not.
as far as compassion, I'm more just being straightforward. Do you feel like the rise in anti-Semitic online influencers post October 7th has given Israel more ammunition to work with in terms of casting everyone who opposes what they're doing as just like a rabid Jew hater?
In some cases, yeah, in some cases, sure. But I also think that's overstated because I think that, look, let's just be honest. I do believe the political left wants to make the Israel issue very narrow. And they want to say that the issue is this genocide in Palestine. And on some level, they think that the Israeli government is racist.
You f***ing baying pig. You f***ing bloodthirsty, violent pig dog.
And that's the problem. And I think that ignores that there is a broader conversation. And it does have to do with the Holocaust. And it does have to do with Jews as such and Jewish nationalism and Jewish identity. So to try to shoehorn it in and say, well, if anybody goes further than this very narrow critique of Israel, well, they're actually helping Israel. I don't agree with that. I think we have to unpack the whole conversation.
Well, do you care a lot about Palestinians?
Not more than I care about anybody else.
So I guess that would be why they would be like, okay, you're just taking advantage of this discourse.
I don't think it's taking advantage. I think that we can sympathize with the Palestinians while also realizing that, look, I'm an American. And so it's a tragedy what's happening in Palestine, but there's tragedies happening all over the world. My problem is that Israel has this influence over our government.
I'm a newcomer to politics, but not to backing the Jewish state.
And we're paying for the genocide, and we're furnishing them with the weapons to commit the genocide. And by the way, America is going to be held liable for this genocide, morally, but also politically and diplomatically and otherwise. But I think that people on the left, they may be guilty of maybe caring more about Palestine than they do about America.
Nick, but the left didn't cancel you. The right canceled you first. The right canceled you first, and Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire, and those were the people that canceled. They may have utilized the tools of the left, or what you call the left, to be able to do that, but it was the right that canceled you. And by the way, what I would consider a radical right. The Daily Wire, to me, is a radical right.
I don't think they're even reactionary. No. I don't think they're that conservative at all. Ben Shapiro, he's not like he's in favor of mass migration.
In 2016, they were alt-right.
No, they were not.
Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire they were to the right of Mitt Romney.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what I mean. And that's
they
what
were
I'm saying.
Conservatives.
Yeah. My point was that's who you were canceled by.
I was also canceled by the left.
No, I know. They came along. They came along because some of the more egregious things that you said is edgelording. They came along. And whether you call it canceling or saying like, what the fuck? This is what I call it. What the fuck?
Like, are you freaking kidding me?
And just like you're able to say, well, I just think it's funny. I'm able to say, I don't find it fucking funny. I didn't find it funny then. I don't find it funny now. I didn't find it funny that some of the things that
some people do,
said about me.
Hunter.
I'm willing to sit here and listen to you because I want to get to this. And this is my whole point. What about fucking Donald Trump?
Yeah, we can get to that. Yeah,
how of all the people in the world, but you could look at and say he doesn't believe anything.
So for context for the viewer, Donald Trump is currently the sitting president of the U.S. For our audience abroad. The war with Iran was supposed to be over. Now we're back in business, baby. Khomeini had a pretty sick funeral if you saw the video. So you guys don't like Trump. You used to like him.
I did.
You've always hated him. He's tried to destroy your life.
Yeah.
You guys were cool. You guys hung out once at Mar-a-Lago with Kanye. You've never hung out with Trump, right? Would you want to?
No. Would I want to? Yeah. Okay. Look, man, I would. Like, can we get him? Can we get him in the hotel room?
So I want you to imagine he's in the hotel with us.
Yeah.
That's Trump.
Funny.
What do you want to ask him?
Oh, put me on the spot. I don't want to ask Donald Trump anything. Because I know, and I think you would agree with me, is that Donald Trump isn't going to give me an authentic answer. Donald Trump never gives an authentic answer. He gives what people refer to as being authentic, but it's not authentic. It's audacious. It's like the example that I give that is the best metaphor for this is that he says he's 6'3", weighs 245 pounds. And everybody laughs because that's a little bit like edgelording, right? Everybody knows that he is maybe 6 feet and weighs maybe 300. 285?
He's a big guy. He's a pretty big guy.
I'm going to pause this because I saw the little was it, damn it. I can't remember his damn name. The comedian, he goes on Joe Rogan. He's got the mullet. Oh, what the hell is his name? Somebody help me out. He had an interview with Trump in the Oval Office, I'm pretty sure. Oh, what the hell is his name? I follow him on YouTube and everything, and I can't remember his name. Theo Von. Theo Von. I do believe it was Theo Von that had the interview with Trump in the Oval Office. And I think that in that interview, I don't know if you all saw it, but I thought in that interview that Donald Trump was a pretty, I don't know. You can't really accurately judge someone's like judge whether or not they're being, you can't accurately judge whether or not somebody's being genuine, simply. But from what I saw and the things that he said, the questions, I don't know if it was scripted or whatever, but it came off as relatively genuine. So I wouldn't say that Donald Trump doesn't ever speak in a genuine way or give genuine answers.
But by virtue of every picture ever taken of anyone that's 6'3", he's not 6'3".
I am.
Okay? Yeah, I know you are.
Thank you.
You're 6'2.5", maybe. That's maybe. But my point is that the reason I don't have a question for him is because I'm absolutely certain that he's not going to give me an authentic answer. Look, he came into the Oval Office in the transition this time, and he told my dad that he thought that he did an amazing job. He did an amazing job with the economy. He did an amazing job with NATO. He did an amazing job, and that he got a raw deal from his side, and anything he could do, particularly for Hunter. Hunter got screwed. Whatever I can do, you let me know. Bullshit. He then went out and he has now since then done nothing but blame Joe Biden for every single one of his problems.
11 months ago, I inherited a mess. Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble. Biden gave us a horrible economy. And I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy and the bad parts are the Biden economy.
He mentioned my dad's name or my family's name 6 times a day in the first 100 days of this administration. 6 times a day.
What's up,
maybe 4 times a day now? Because he has no
Number
answers.
one simp
All
in
he
the
has is a
house.
finger
What
to
up,
point.
homie?
And that's all he does.
I got my camera off
you know,
because
why
my
are you such a
eyeballs
dick?
hurt from
What does your dad
my
think about the war?
lights behind my laptop.
But I'm not going to get into what my dad thinks about the war. Is it really because I don't want to get into I don't put words in my dad's mouth, just like I wouldn't ask you what your dad thinks about the war, but your dad wasn't the president of the United States, which is a little bit different. But you know, all I can say is this: is that every single Israeli prime minister since at least Jimmy Carter was president, has walked into the Oval Office or picked up the phone and called the president and said, we have to attack Iran. And every single one of them has said no. And they may not all have had the same exact reason, but one of the reasons they did is because they knew what the consequences would be as it relates to the lifeblood of the economy, is petroleum in the Straits of Hormuz. Every single one of them knew that. And every single one of them knew that there is no way, unless you send in ground forces, to end with certainty the nuclear program that the Iranians have supposedly been building. Every single one of them knew that the existing Ayatollah, the Ayatollah at that time, had put out a fatwa, an edict saying that they would never turn their nuclear technology into a bomb.
The supreme leader of Iran issued having nuclear weapons is forbidden, it's haram. Which means never we can have nuclear weapons.
It was a religious edict as strong as if the Pope had released an encyclical. What did he do? He kills the Ayatollah. We get a son that now has a far more radical and far greater ties to the IRGC. And what do we have? The Straits of Hormuz are still closed. He said that they're brilliant people. I find that that's Donald Trump on everything. He said he'd end the war in Ukraine on day one.
That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president.
And I didn't hear anybody on the right and say, that's just bullshit. It's just bullshit. He said he would build a wall. I don't believe in building a wall, but everybody said that's bullshit. And then when he got into office, the corruption, the level of the corruption. I mean,
I do have it at 1.5.
Led to believe that there was this thing called the Biden crime family, right? I know that you know is that I didn't do a single piece of business when my dad was president. I made basically $200,000 a year selling paintings. I picked the thing that was the furthest possible thing away from politics that I possibly could. Don and Eric have done over $1.3 billion in contracts, just in contracts for underlying companies that they have an ownership stake in with the Department of Defense. Don Jr. got the largest loan ever given by the Department of Defense of a company that he bought into like 3 months before they got the loan, because Peter Navarro picked up the phone and called DOD to get it done. My point is, I don't have anything productive to say to him that I know of. And when I listen to you, and I listen to what you do. My question is how did you not see that before? He was a disaster in 2020, a complete and utter disaster as it related to what he did with COVID. Regardless of whether you think we're supposed to be wearing masks or not.
The question for Nick is, how did you not realize 6 years ago that Trump would be this sort of letdown?
Because he doesn't hold, there's no ideological core to Donald Trump.
No, I agree with you. Well, you got to realize in 2016 where Republicans were at. We had John McCain, we had Mitt Romney, and the perception on the right is that they were insufficiently conservative and that they were losers. All they do is lose because they don't fight. There was this perception that the Democrats are ruthless fighters. Obama crushed in 2008, crushed when we thought he really should have lost in 2012. That was a Republican perception that Romney let us down. And so when Trump came on the scene in 2016, it was new, it was refreshing. He seemed like somebody that was really going to take on not just the Democrats, but also the media on our behalf. And what's more, you got to think about the mood of the moment in 16 as well, and the message Trump was giving.
Also,
Trump said in 16,
Mushroom,
it's just me and my son and my wife. We don't have any donors. We don't have any special interests.
More than $100 million put in of my money, meaning I'm not taking all of this big money from all of these different corporations like she's doing.
We're going to put America first, make the country great again. This is a very appealing message. And I talk all the time on my show about it, and realizing now that it was obviously a scam and now obviously unfulfilled completely. And you're right, Trump is non-ideological. The message was brilliant because it said, one, the system is broken. America's not great anymore, but it used to be. We can make it great again, but in order to do it, we need to actually bypass the system. Why is it that we never have victories? Why is it that things don't change? Because of money. He said, and that's why I'm different. I'm rich. I'm a billionaire. If I self-fund my campaign and don't take super PAC money, then I won't have to listen to the lobbyists and the special interests. I could fire the people I need to fire, do the things I need to do. That was like a very powerful message in 2016. And after 4 years, I was one of the people even back then that said, look, it never materialized. He did wind up taking super PAC money. He took APAC money for that matter. Sheldon Adelson money at that time in 16. Even in the first term, bombed Iran. In the first term, didn't build the wall. In the first term, didn't even reduce illegal immigration until 2019. And I remember the timeline perfectly because I covered it every day. It was like in May and June 2019, 20-year illegal immigration high in terms of month over month. But why did I go for him in 2020? At the height of the pandemic, we all thought on the right that if anyone other than Trump was president, you were going to get a vaccine mandate, which we really didn't want to be forced to take the vaccine. We thought the lockdown might never end. We thought that censorship would kick into overdrive. And so we said, really, it's unacceptable that anyone other than Trump would just be a disaster. And then obviously Biden came in, and I don't think it was as bad as we thought it would be, to tell you the truth, honestly. But by 2024, I mean, I was out in 2024 because everything you're saying is totally true. And I was telling people on my side, I was saying, he's not going to build the wall. And I know you're against that. He's not going to do the mass deportations, promising that. He's not going to start no new wars. I said in 24, he's going to take us to war in Iran. And the Ukraine war, I said, that's not going to end in one day. Too complicated. We're already in it. And so I didn't vote. I didn't vote in 2024. And I told my followers not to vote for Trump for that reason. And it was only until a year later, after all the exuberance died down and people saw the bearing of the Epstein files, the war in Iran, people said, you know what? You were right. You were right about Trump. Even Alex Jones told me you were right about Trump. I was all in on him. So, I mean, as far as him being vaporware is concerned and a scammer and fundamentally, you're 100% right. No ideological core. He's not an ideological guy. Yeah, it is. He's
literally all about him.
And I agree. He's a cruel narcissist. Yeah. And you said, I like the cruelty. I do not like the cruelty.
No, by the way, no, I didn't say you like the cruelty. I said, I listened to your thing, and you said one of the things that you liked about Levin was the cruelty. And not for the cruelty's sake, it didn't seem to me like this, is because it was raw. It was, yeah. And that's, so I'm not saying that.
No, but I agree. I think he is cruel. And even what he said on Easter, I mean, we're Catholic. On Easter Sunday, he says, we're going to annihilate Iran. And then he made fun of Allah on Easter Sunday. So, you know, that kind of stuff, it just totally turned me off entirely.
Is there anything that you think Trump can do to like regain the support of the, I guess, Gen Z and millennial right?
No, it's over. People see what he's made of. And Hunter's right. He's a liar. He is a liar. He is a bullshit artist. And especially, you look at what he did with the Epstein files, with the war in Iran, what he did to Thomas Massie.
This guy named Thomas Massie. There's something wrong with him. They just vote no. They love voting no. They think it's good politically.
You realize that if you are America first, you have no place in this Republican Party. Because he said it. He said our Republican Party, or rather, he said MAGA is Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Randy Fine. He said, and who is not MAGA? Megyn Kelly, Tucker, Alex Jones, Candace. And I think most Republicans said, well, we're with those other people. We're not MAGA anymore. So
what do you think happens, Nick? I believe that we need radical change. And I'm not talking about violence or revolution or things like that. I'm talking about the only ways that you can have this kind of radical rethinking of the system. Like, there's so many what do you think about the Epstein files? What do you think about the accountability? Or do you think that he's broken the system to the degree that we now are basically in a dictatorship light?
No, I have a lot of confidence only because I think the Democrats are going to take the House in 26, which I support. I'm telling my people, vote Democrat. We want the Democrats in the House. Because what they're going to do is they're going to use the oversight powers to bring all the corruption to light. Because I know Republicans will watch this, and when you say, you know, we didn't commit crime, they're going to be skeptical. However, for the sake of arguments, let's say the income you made during Biden was ill-gotten. For the sake of example, it's just doesn't hold a candle. It doesn't even come close, doesn't even touch Jared Kushner, Howard Lutnick, Steve Witkoff, Don Jr., Trump himself. It's just a different sport. It's a different game entirely. And I want all that corruption to be revealed. And I think the Democrats are going to do it. I hope they get impeached. I don't think they'll be removed from office, but I think it'll basically drag this administration to a halt. And then 28, I think there's an opportunity for a clean reset with both sides, right and left.
Hey guys, quick thing before we get back to Hunter and Nick. So these two guys individually have been hammered on all sides by the American media for years. And if you want to understand why the coverage looks the way but left wing advantage plan that illustrates or scares you so much. Nightmare scenario that revolves or scan the QR code. All right, see.
Yes.
What about JD Vance being in power scares you so much?
If Trump doesn't have an ideological core, then Vance really doesn't, because Vance is a chameleon. That's not his real name for openers. Never had a real job. These are all sinecures given to him by Peter Thiel. 6 years ago, he's a never Trumper.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
I think that he's leading people in a very dark direction, and that's ultimately what worries me the most.
Terrible candidate. Idiot if you voted for him. Might be America's Hitler.
I was wrong about Donald Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a good president, Brett. He was a great president.
Now he's a national conservative, national populist. And so we don't even really know who he is. I mean, to me, this is basically a Manchurian candidate. This is a shell. And who is the power behind him? It's the oligarchs. It's the little tech oligarchs in bed with the CIA, you know, especially at this fever pitch with AI. I think that's really dangerous. So to me, him being president is just a worse scenario in my mind.
For the uninformed viewer, what is the Palantir JD Vance connection?
Well, Palantir was founded by Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel's very close to David Sachs. JD Vance was given his first job in Silicon Valley by Thiel. Thiel hooked him up with it. You know, the CEO of that company said it was a personal favor to Thiel that I hired him. And then Thiel got him all his jobs at these various venture capital firms, including his own, and then funding JD Vance's venture capital firm. Peter Thiel gave $15 million to Vance when he ran for Senate in Ohio in 22. Peter Thiel secured President Trump's endorsement for him in 22, which basically got him the nomination of the seat. So, I mean, as far as anybody's concerned, Vance owes his entire political career to Peter Thiel, who derives his fortune from Palantir.
And now he's a Catholic like you and me.
Well, he's a convert, so, you know.
Beware the convert.
So do you think that Trump's unfulfillment of his campaign promises was a result of him being like compromised by somebody connected to that structure, or do you think he always just never cared?
I don't know that he never cared. I just think that, you know, me, I'm an idealist. So I think about the ideas and the concepts. Trump is a businessman. And so I think with him, everything's transactional. And I said this in 2024. Trump knew the voters would swallow anything. The voters would not walk away from the table because they were enamored with him.
I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
So he knew he could break every promise with them in order to fulfill promises for the donor class, which is little tech, the Israel lobby, and Wall Street, the bankers, Tim Mellon, you know, the big asset managers. So I think with him, everything's business, everything's a transaction. And that's why you can't trust him. You have to do business. And in 24, I said we should all collectively say we're not going to vote unless he makes certain commitments. And not enough people did that. But I mean, that's fundamentally his flaw.
Your critique of this like elite power structure sounds like vaguely anti-capitalist.
It's not anti-capitalist. You know, capitalism says the capital, large amounts of capital will be held in private hands, which I believe in. I am a capitalist. But I think what is happening is that it's the way that money is used in government. There needs to be a distinct and separate national power that subordinates the money power to it. The problem in government, which I believe in, I mean, that's fundamentally his flaw.
Your critique of this like elite power structure sounds like vaguely anti-capitalist.
It's not anti-capitalist. You know, capitalism says the capital, large amounts of capital will be held in private hands, which I believe in. I am a capitalist. But I think what is happening is that it's the way that money is used in government. There needs to be a distinct and separate national power that subordinates the money power to it. The problem is the billionaires buy all the elections, buy all the media, control public perception. And so really we're all subsidiary then to the market. So I support capitalism, but it just has to be underneath the nation, underneath the state.
It seems like you have a pretty optimistic perspective on the year 2028.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president.
What does he mean by that?
Coming back to this like clean election year. Do you think that's going to be like a renaissance year for outsider candidates and outside media channels like this one?
It can be. I think it certainly can be because I think there's frustration on the right and on the left. You know, you see even in the primaries on the Democrat side, it's all DSA, progressive types that are winning. You ironically have the same frustration on the left with their establishment as we have on the right. And so I think, you know, in 2028, it's going to be a year where there'll be a competitive Republican primary and Democratic primary, and hopefully the people make their voice heard and we get some new options, you know, maybe that reflect the will of the people more.
Yeah. And so what do you think about somebody like Mamdani?
Personally, I don't like him. I don't like some of the things that he said, like, for example, on 4th of July, when he takes the opportunity to sit there with, let's be honest, not a single white person in the room and says, you know, the founding fathers would look down on us, the working people with their dirt-streaked hands against the billionaires. I think it's a little too divisive. I like his energy. I like that he's young. It's ironic. Fair enough.
That's rich, buddy. But no,
but it seems pointed at me.
I know, but the thing
he was dissing you in that video?
Yeah,
like,
a little
staring
bit.
down the camera like, you Nick, you son of a bitch.
People like me.
Yeah.
But what I see is somebody is using government for exactly the purpose that you just said, is to break the oligopoly, to target the anger towards a tiny percentage of the population that has controlled the levers of government from the White House down to the mayor's office in New York City or Peoria, Illinois, to that matter, and even more so as you go further down that chain. And so I look at somebody like Mamdani, and regardless of his delivery, which may be off-putting, particularly from somebody coming from your side, is that he's delivering. Man, you know what? I mean, he's really delivering. You know, like I saw somebody going after Mamdani for some of this stuff, and particularly about rent control. You know, it was like, well, how do you think that the middle class was built after World War II in the GI Bill and rent-controlled buildings that created those communities that we were talking about an hour ago?
The GI Bill provides returning soldiers and veterans a range of benefits, including mortgages to purchase homes, loans to go to school. And this really was instrumental in creating the new American middle class.
Created the availability for somebody that was 26 years old that had a job with the MTA to be able to live and work in the city and put a kid in a school with the idea that they would be safe walking there and go to a park that, where the water fountains worked. That's what I see him trying to do. I mean, by the way, it's just so tired and, ridiculous. He's a communist. Like, it's about the communists. Like, who even says that anymore? Nobody, like, you know what? It was 1981 and, we're watching Rocky V and worried about the communists. You know what I mean? I don't get it. Rocky IV? My whole Philly legitimacy was just blown right there. But it's just kind of, so I look at somebody like Mamdani, I think, well, he's just talking about good government. Like, what do you think about healthcare? Don't you think that there should be a single-payer system? Don't you think that there should be some guarantee as a right? Because I don't know how you make it in this country and aspire to a middle-class life and be able to afford a catastrophic event as it relates to your health. I mean, it's over. You're done.
Yeah. I don't support single-payer, but I do believe that everybody should be entitled to some minimum level of coverage. Catastrophic insurance. So in principle, I agree.
Which is Medicare for all to a certain degree, right? I mean, because that's all that Medicare does right now. But why is that radical?
See, I don't think that's necessarily radical, but
to them,
we've
been convinced that it's
to them, those others.
Yeah, no, them. I mean, the insurance companies.
Well, he's a little unfiltered.
They're lobbyists who control 55% of the
Congress,
regardless of who's in power.
Right. Well, and I don't think that's necessarily the most radical. I think, though, he is with the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. He backs all these DSA candidates. And let's be honest, a lot of them are radical. Like, I saw one of these candidates that just won in New York a couple weeks ago, the Chevalier candidate. There's a picture.
She hates my dad.
Yeah, I know.
She said about my dad.
She said awful things about him. And she says, I didn't have a napkin to wipe my hands, so I used the American flag.
Yeah, by the way, I think it's crazy. But like the same way that,
that's
I thought a lot of the stuff that some
wild.
people that got elected in 2016, 2020, even during the Tea Party, kind of movement was, egregious. Again, egregious.
If it's a legitimate rape, the female body has ways to try to shut that whole thing down.
So what do we do? What do we do, Nick?
I think a better question
I mean,
is,
for real, what do we do? Can you at least come a little bit to this way?
If you can come a little this way.
I can. Here's where I can come, is this. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
About the Holocaust thing?
Oh, about that.
Yeah. No, I mean, really.
I do. And listen, here's what I'll say. Now that I'm older, I do think that's not the best approach. So I agree with you on that. And I see it as I get older, because let's be honest, saying those things when I'm a younger guy, when I'm 18, 20, it's like, you got to think that's just the age.
Jews are running society. Women need to shut the fuck up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part.
And a lot of young people think that's funny and everything like that. I think that it also goes with the medium as well. Live streaming, social media, that's just what it rewards. So yeah, I think that people should try to move past some of that.
I'll try. But if you try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
For real. And as it relates to when you talk about Israel, Netanyahu, Likud government, what's happening now, what's happened for the past 20 years in terms of whether the funding to Israel, what do you think it is? It's really important that you make a distinction between that and Jews. Because here's the thing, okay? Zoran Mamdani has a higher favorability rating in the United States among Jews than Bibi Netanyahu does. I think 65% of American Jews disagree with the approach that the Israeli government has right now. They don't disagree with you, but they completely turn off when they hear the conflation of Jews, Zionism, Israel, and think automatically anti-Semitism, whether it's fair or not, okay? But you have to understand it. And you have to understand it from a cultural perspective in which the recent history is only one data point in 2,000 years of history as it relates to what it means to be a Jew. Of which there is what, 1%, 0.5% of the entire world's population? Because I don't know what it adds to your argument, or what it adds to your argument about Miriam Adelson being able to give $300 million to Donald Trump and commit to giving another $300 million to get her way, and we end up in a war with them.
Yeah, well, and I think that's a valid point. I do think, though, that the issue's broader than just.
Does anybody, this quick pause, does anybody have statistics on like religious beliefs when it comes to the different parties? We'll just say, because there's not just two parties. I mean, there is, but there's not, right? So we'll just say the two bigger parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. Does anybody have any statistics on what the religious or non-religious, so who is secular on each side and who is religious, and what religious beliefs those individuals are? Because, right, we're more than just Christians and non-Christians now. We have multiple quote unquote religions, or whatever you want to call them, in the United States. So I'm curious. And I know that I think I've heard that this is a place of contention. I said this was going to be a short pause, but I get it. You don't want to necessarily, Christian conservatives don't necessarily want to work with Jewish conservatives because there's some a great deal of religious tension due to some historical events that took place a long, long time ago. So I get that. But aren't we both Jewish and Christian conservatives against the liberal or the Democratic Party, like allowing the Islamic State to like start being in political power of our cities? I don't know. I guess I don't know. I just maybe probably need to think through it a little bit more and maybe get some more information so that I can better understand it. But from where I'm sitting without all the information that I need, it just seems like it would be so much more effective if we could get rid of Islam first. As conservatives, regardless of whether or not we're Christian or Jewish. Sorry. Okay, let's get back to it. Tell me to shut up, Mushroom God. Just say it. Shut up, lady.
Yes, Netanyahu.
Oh, maybe, by the way, it obviously Netanyahu has a base within Israel, within the Jewish community here in the United States, with Jared Kushner. You know what I mean? Jared Kushner, who is unelected, not a member of our government, is having has more control over the direction of everyday lives of American people right now than anybody that I know. And meanwhile, all he's doing is getting a $6 billion private equity fund with the people he is negotiating for. And I always say, look who's paying him, and wondering whose interest that he is advancing. He's getting paid by the Saudis, he's getting paid by the Emiratis, he's getting paid by the Qataris, he's getting paid. Go down the list. And for some reason, he is in control, along with Steve Witkoff, who is also not elected by anybody, of deciding whether or not the Straits of Hormuz are going to open up and whether or not our gas prices are going to go down. It may not matter to the three of us necessarily, an extra $1 or 60 cents or 85 cents, but you know what? The 85% of the people that live in America, it means it's the difference between whether or not you're going to be able to pay rent, whether or not you're going to be able to actually put the gas in your car in Montana to drive to your job on the ranch.
Well, and here's what I'll say to you, and this is something kind of why I want to do this interview, is emphasize the message that as far as Jews are concerned in general, I think that it's the same standard that applies to everybody, which is as long as you're patriotic, as long as you believe Americans should be put first by their government, I have no problem at all. And I think that everybody in the country should be treated with dignity and respect and have their civil rights. It's just this acute problem of these people, like you mentioned, like Larry Ellison and Miriam Adelson and Jared Kushner, they're putting some other country before the interest of our own. And that, in principle, is what I have a problem with.
There is going to be some people who watch this and feel like, all right, no take backsies. And they might feel like you're just kind of trying to moderate.
I love that. I said that no take backsies today.
Your main aim has already been achieved, which is sort of have a generational run and pop off. So now you're trying to kind of make your way more into the mainstream discourse, but you'll just go back again into the same sort of reactionary rhetoric once you're back in the number one spot.
Well, I don't even think I'm moderating. And I even told our mutual friend, it's not even a moderation. It's not even an apology. It's clarifying, because, all along I've been saying this message. It's just that the way that I'm saying it changes and evolves. And I also think how people respond to it changes as well. Because let's be honest, 10 years ago, there was a very different kind of conversation about Israel. You could not mention it in a negative or critical way without being utterly annihilated in politics. We all know that ever since October 7th, that's not the case anymore. So I think that there's sort of something reciprocal happening, which is that people are receiving me differently. And as someone that's growing older and more mature, I'm even representing myself differently. So I wouldn't even call it moderating, just clarifying. People are more receptive, and I'm maybe better able to articulate it.
And you think that's because you've kind of gotten older and been able to have like a longer career in media to reflect on your different changes in your perhaps brain chemistry and lifestyle?
That's a huge thing. I mean, I know it's 27. I have a very different mentality than I did when I was 20.
What's the main difference to me?
Just more even keeled. I think you know too. It's like when you're 20, you're just like a maniac, and then you get 25, and you're like, all right.
I was a maniac when I was 49. My brain chemistry has definitely changed in the last 7 years.
Thank you for that.
And I do believe that people can grow and they can change. And I'm not asking you to, and I'm not asking you to say things, but there are certain things that I just hope that you can hear without feeling attacked. That some of the things that you said, whether it's edgelording otherwise,
obviously it's going to be relatively
low. People turn off to the idea of being able to listen to you about anything, and you get dug in more, and you're like, go fuck yourself, like, you can't take a joke kind of thing. And that's not what it is.
I'm thinking that a lot of Democrats are secular.
People being really, really hurt by it. And I accept your apology for all the things you said about me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ethnically Jewish
I'm
or
on my
whatever
apology
that
tour. Is that the one thing you did say? You said I was a degenerate crackhead.
Me?
And I have the problem with that, not you.
Me?
Yeah. And
I also said you were cool, though.
Yeah, no, by the way, you said a degenerate crackhead, and you know what?
Israel's run by
secular Jews. I spent more time on my hands and knees smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine. It's true.
And now you're sober. Yeah, I find it interesting. You also said that you've never drank before.
Right. Yeah, I've never had a drink. Never done drugs.
That's because you grew up, with me. You're like, don't be that guy.
I grew up with you too, and I was doing.
Yeah.
Face
My brother never drank. My dad too. And
I was gonna ask you, Nick, what kind of prompted your choice to just like be sober for life and never drink?
Well, a big part of it is I had a lot of addiction in my family. My grandfather was an alcoholic, committed suicide. Uncle died from an overdose from crack cocaine. My mom, 2 of her uncles, heroin addicts for their entire lives. And it just devastated my family, devastated both of my parents. And so I know I have that addictive personality and probably have the genetics for it. And not only that, but I like being rational. I like having my sober mind. I think that's actually a sacred thing, to have unimpaired reason. So the thought of losing control and even being tempted to get into, worse things, I just thought it's just not worth the risk. So it's just never for me.
Well, how much, by the way, sorry, do we have time? Is it?
I would have to look at the rest of everybody that's
warped, not just your generation, but everybody. Because I have this theory that there was this thing that broke for us with COVID.
Remember, I'm not like
nobody's really come to terms with how traumatic that was for everyone.
And especially for the younger generations. I think severely less for the older generations, but for the younger people, missing the graduations, missing critical years in school, that's when the socialization happens. That's when you learn to get along. And so you think about how this generation is going to grow up having 2 to 3 lost years, no sports, no school, no extracurriculars, vacations. It's devastating. And we already have a problem with that. Isolation, social dislocation, loneliness. I can't even imagine. So it's going to be devastating, I think.
Your service is always.
So maybe if you're watching this video after this, put your phone or computer away, go outside and make a friend. Just do anything but scroll to the next video.
That would like
back in the day during Nickelodeon, they had go outside day.
Oh, yeah.
It's like we need like 1 day a week where it's mandated in a tech oligarch sense that no one can go on their phone and use a computer.
I would love that. I mean, that's one thing. Is the one thing we could all agree on. The way I say it now is you're all carrying around a bag of heroin in your pocket. Everybody is, and it's probably even more dangerous in some ways.
Would either of you guys ever run for office?
Because there's other parties.
No. I think that politics, the way that my dad engaged in it, and I'm obviously incredibly biased, is an incredibly noble thing. But that's not. It's not where my head is in terms of what I want to do. I want to reach. My whole thing is that forget all of this. I want to reach 1 million people in addiction. I think one of the biggest things about addiction, one of the reasons why it is it continues to be this epidemic, is that we don't talk about it. Is that you don't even talk about it around a dinner table. And what you realize, if you're coming from my particular unique situation, is that everybody comes to me and they tell me their story. And sharing that is like, breaks that cycle of shame. And so I want to reach 1 million people in addiction.
How about you, Nick? Would you ever run for office?
I don't think so, no. Just because I don't think you can fully be authentic when you're running for office because it's a different role.
You can't
and I think my role, they say, according to the Overton window idea.
Ideas that are inside the Overton window are ideas that are politically safe. The public is ready to accept them.
They say that if you want to change people's opinions and what they consider acceptable, you kind of have to be the first to the punch and maybe considered a bad person or evil or whatever in order to promote your view. And so that just doesn't lend itself to that kind of politics. So I think to protect my own integrity and authenticity of the message, I have to not run for office.
See what we just did? We just made probably the entire audience happy. One half is glad I'm not running. The other half is really glad he's not running.
Is there any candidate or prospective candidate that you feel like could run in 2028 that would, have a fair shot that y'all support?
Nobody in particular for me. I haven't really been too impressed with who's come out of the Republican Party. So I'm hoping they'll just be somebody we haven't heard of, somebody maybe that hasn't been in office before.
He's voting for Gavin Newsom.
That's right. Yeah. Well, if it's Newsom advance, I'd certainly think about it.
Yeah.
How about you? Anybody that,
what is it, like 68%?
No, I think that there are a lot of people. I mean, I know that you think that you're going to laugh at me, but I personally like Gavin Newsom a lot. I think that he's authentic in those beliefs, whether you agree with him or not. Thomas Massey's principal stand as it relates to the Epstein files was incredibly courageous.
Do not let the Senate muck this bill up. I am sorry if one of your billionaire donors is going to get embarrassed because he went to Rape Island.
And that's why he's not going to be donors anymore. But that's why, could potentially make a really strong national candidate.
And you guys think America will exist in a post-Epstein capture freeway?
When I say Christian,
will America survive the current power structure's stranglehold on the media, the political system, and all public affairs?
I don't know. I think AI is going to really be transformative. It's interesting. Nobody seems to be talking about that.
Transformative in what sense? Like for bad?
Concentration of power. That's the single biggest. And you know what? I'm actually on the liberal side on this with Anthropic over the, let's say, because there's this battle between these effective altruists, effective accelerationists, and I really am nervous about what's going to happen, especially in the next 4 years, because they're racing towards this artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence, and that, without a doubt, is going to be the single biggest influence on the country. And so I'm really worried about that.
And what about that concerns you? Is it surveillance?
It's the concentration of power in the hands of whoever controls it. Whichever firm is the one to develop ASI, that could confer dictatorial-like powers upon the CEO of that company. So whether that's Sam Altman or Dario, if the artificial intelligence is aligned with its creator, that person will become the most powerful person in the history of mankind.
It's almost an inherent truth, in my opinion, what he just said, is that the greatest leap in human evolution is going to happen within our lifetimes. AGI, let alone, superintelligence, is everything that we think about the way in which we exist in the world completely changes. And I don't think that that's in any way hyperbole. And if you listen to the people that are developing these technologies right now, they are the most alarmist.
I think AI will probably, most likely, sort of lead to the end of the world.
If you want to know what life's like when you're not the apex intelligence, ask a chicken.
And now, by the way, I think that there's an enormous possibility.
That's what I thought. I thought it was like 68.
Incredibly beneficial things to society, like being able to cure cancer. I just think of this one thing. Everything that AI is built on is ours. Belongs to you, and you, and you, all the way back through the human civilization. That's what they're stealing from us. And they're putting it into the hands of literally
a
handful of people. All of that human knowledge and the value that comes from it. And I think that that's ours. So any AI that is developed, particularly that goes to HE, it should be communal. It should be shared in not just the beneficial offshoots of it, but the actual money of it should be shared.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Good.
I think it's like nuclear bombs, but it's also a commodity at the same time. The weapons potential, the economic potential, I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And I hope on some level that liberals win that argument, because what Trump is doing with the Pentagon, Anthropic, and OpenAI, the way they're handling it is so reckless and sloppy and just honestly unbelievable. So we need some adults in the room on that one.
Well, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate you guys for coming. Do you guys have any final questions you want to ask to each other, or maybe a message you want to give to the American people?
I still believe in America, and I truly believe in these conversations. And I think everyone that's watching would think that I would not want to sit down with Nick. And this, I guess, what I'm getting at with you is that I hope you see the humanity of me. And so in the way that you talk in the future, takes that into consideration. And what I'll do is I will see the humanity in you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a great conversation. And I think that, we have to come together on the things that we agree on, which is, for example, that we love the country. We both believe in America. We both want the country to succeed. And I like what you said, that we see the fundamental humanity in each other. And I think that, especially in the events of the last year, the killing of Charlie Kirk, you realize that's actually not something that people on both sides share. I think there's people on the right and the left that don't see the humanity in the other side. And so maybe that's the new consensus, or that's where we can come together, is on the basis that, we disagree on fundamental issues, and even sometimes it gets heated and we yell at each other, but that we do ultimately want the best for each other. We love each other. We want the country to succeed. And I think that's a starting point for any solution and any conversation.
All right, American brothers, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
After interviewing Hunter and Nick about a variety of contentious topics.
All right. Whew. Dang. That took a lot. Yes. All this is another example of the left trying to make group enemies of the right. Oh, you're black. Why are you voting for the right? Oh, you're a right-wing Jew. Yeah. Politics are overwhelming, man. And so, again, when I listen to this, when I watch this exchange, I'm paying attention to the social issues that they're talking about. And I think that because we've made it, there's a distinction, right, between politically conservative and politically conservative and socially conservative. You can be politically conservative and not socially conservative. Libertarians exist, so significant drop. That's a significant drop. It's really unfortunate. So what was I saying? Shit. Got distracted because I got information that I asked for. The conservative thing. So politically and socially conservative don't mean the same thing. And I think that on the social conservative and we're trying to find a solution or a way to rebuild community. I mean, you heard during that interview, they talked about the same things that I have been talking about, and that is the collapse of community. I blame big government for the collapse of community because, like I said, the more division there is, the greater control big government has. And I kind of displayed that in the single parent home versus married parents. And I know that there's some things that need to be considered there. Just because they're married doesn't mean that it's the biological parents and but those are households that have two parents, so but you also saw that serious jump from 1975 or 76 to 2001. There was a serious jump in from married parent, two-parent households to single-parent households, and a huge jump in single-father households. So the collapse of the community, putting more weight on the making it harder for intergenerational families to remain intergenerational, or and not families, but intergenerational households to remain intergenerational households. Because, well, the more households there are, the more big government can make their money, and also can other industries. So when you break apart the community, everybody else but the community benefits from it. And so I think that's probably where I'm going to end it. Any thoughts from chat before I end it? I'll go ahead and end the YouTube poll. And then I got to figure out what link to ghetto raid. I got to ghetto raid you guys over to somewhere. All right, 53%. I got 53% of these motherfuckers are simps. Let's go. Holla, making that money. I'm just kidding. I look fine with messy hair. Bro, this is just my hair. It's not messy. It's just my hair. Now I'm offended. That content was on YouTube. Right? The content was on YouTube. So it should be okay since it was from YouTube. Now you're making me all self-conscious about my hair. Thanks, Mushroom. Yeah, now you're laughing at me. That'll be a $10 tax, sir. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Or am I? No, I am just kidding. This is just my hair. I have crazy big curly hair. So usually it's up or tamed in some way, and I just didn't tame it. Okay, anyways, I ended the poll. I mean, to be honest, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that was probably one of the better, like, review/react streams that I've done, especially solo. I've never really reacted or reviewed something that leaned so far political. But I think I did okay. Yeah. All right, so I ended the poll. Now I got to find out who's live. How long has he been live? Oh, not long at all. Okay. All right, I am ghetto rating you. To come on, paste, fool. All right, first, before I do that, I have to say thank you so much to my moderators who stuck around tonight. Thank you so much to all the donors of the evening. Thank you so much to everybody that engaged in chat. And from one weirdo to the rest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fuck off. Should put get a raid in Cool Vic's chat. Say get a raid from Darkside.